Chapter 305. Fortunately his eye was saved. Well, you should get ready. Between Qiao Yuliang and Qin Jinping, which of the two families is more reliable and can be supported as a subordinate force of our Li family? Li Qiaoba asked. Qin Jinping is easier to control, but Qiao Yuliang is a bit cunning. Li Shanying said, it's just that Qin Jinping is Qiao Yuliang's little brother, so it's not easy to instigate him directly. But the Qin family is the most suitable, because Qin Huanling is the vice president of the Songning Martial Artist Guild. Well, let's put this matter aside for now. I'll think about how to do it. Li Qiaoba didn't let Li Shanying contact them directly, but decided to wait and see. Okay, Grandpa. Li Shanying nodded and retreated to prepare for the competition at the summit. What Xiao Qin didn't know was that the matter between him and Xin Jingxian yesterday had aroused Xin Jinghao's suspicion. Although Xin Jinghao didn't directly ask Xin Jingxian about it, he still found someone to inquire about what happened at Qing Minjing's birthday party the next day. He found that it was indeed Xiao Qin who sent Xin Jingxian back that night, and the car was indeed Xiao Qian's. Most importantly, Xin Jingxian didn't drink at the party. She didn't drink. Logically speaking, Xin Jingxian shouldn't have fallen asleep in the car. Did something really happen between her and Xiao Qin? Xin Jinghao couldn't believe it. In his opinion, no matter who Xin Jingxian liked, she wouldn't like Xiao Qin because the gap between them was too big. When Xiao Qin was in Songning First High School and hadn't been expelled from the Xiao family, Xin Jingxian had no feelings for Xiao Qin. When Xin Jinghao asked for her engagement partner, he also listed all the children of these families and mentioned Xiao Qin. But at that time, Xin Jingshuan's reaction was very indifferent. She also said that Xiao Qin was Qing Minjing's fiancé, so it was impossible for them to be together. Now Xiao Qin was expelled from the Xiao family and transferred to the second high school. Was it possible for the two to have a relationship? But as soon as this idea came to his mind, Xin Jinghao felt more and more suspicious. He couldn't ask Xin Jingxian directly, but he could ask Qin Jinping about his relationship with Xin Jingxian and about Xiao Qin. Therefore, when Xin Jinghao came to this conclusion, he was going to talk to Qin Jinping and take him to Qin Huanling to see if he could solve the family's need for medicinal herbs. Qin Jinping was very happy to be asked out by Xin Jinghao. Although Xin Jingxian was indifferent to him, wasn't the engagement of a big family like this? Once the family approved of it, the opinions of the parties involved didn't seem to matter. As long as Xin Jinghao approved of him, there wouldn't be any obstacles for him to be with Xin Jingxian. Uncle Xin, are you looking for me? For Qin Jinping, skipping class was a common occurrence. He directly greeted Qiao Yuliang and went to the school gate to get in Xin Jinghao's car. And I want to talk to you about Jingxian. Xin Jinghao smiled and said, how is your relationship with Jingxian? It's okay. Qin Jinping didn't dare to tell the truth. The truth was that their relationship wasn't going well, and it seemed to be getting more and more uncoordinated. However, he didn't dare to say this kind of thing. Oh yes, last night why did Xiao Qin send Jingxian back? Didn't you send her back? Xin Jinghao asked calmly. Yesterday, don't mention it. Yesterday, brother Liang. Oh, it's Qiao Yuliang. I don't know what happened to him, but he talked nonsense at Qing Minjing's party. After that, he said that he didn't know what he said. I had no choice but to go and comfort him. Qin Jinping said with some depression. Oh, I heard that Xiao Qin used to pursue Jingxian. Will there be a revival between him and Jingxian? Jinping, you have to be careful. Xin Jinghao reminded him. I'm angry when I talk about this. Qin Jinping was also very sullen. There was no one to talk to before. This time it was Xin Jinghao who took the initiative to find him. So, he complained about Xiao Qin's various evil deeds, including Xiao Qin and Xin Jingxian falling into the sea together and coming back together. Xiao Qin invited Xin Jingxian to sit in his car. These things were all told to Xin Jinghao. Oh, there are these things? Xin Jinghao's heart sank. The contact between Xin Jingxian and Xiao Qin was frequent these days. Did something really happen between them in private? What made him most suspicious was why Xin Jingxian got in the car when Xiao Qin invited her. He couldn't understand this behavior. If Xin Jingxian didn't like Xiao Qin, why did she get in the car? The first time they fell into the sea, it could be said to be an accident, but this time there was obviously a purpose. So, Xin Jinghao asked, why did Jingxian get in Xiao Qin's car? This is also my fault. I joked that Xiao Qin can pursue Jingxian. Qin Jinping said, I didn't expect Xiao Qin to be so shameless. Don't you know Jingshuan's character? She isn't good at rejecting and attacking others. There was nothing wrong with Xin Jingshuan's character being kind, but to say that Xin Jingxian agreed to get in the car with Xiao Qin because he wanted to pursue her, it was a bit unbelievable. Jinping, I don't want to scold you, But how can you make such a joke? Shen Jinghao's face became serious. In the future you should stop making such jokes. It's not good for both of our families. I understand. Qin Jinping couldn't say it out loud. He could basically guess that it was because he told Qin Jingshen that someone wanted to harm Xiao Qin on the road, and Qin Jingshen was such a kind person. She was afraid that something would happen to Xiao Qian, so she got in Xiao Qian's car. If he said this, Shen Jinghao would definitely be very angry. You knew it was dangerous. Why didn't you stop Qin Jingshen from getting in the car? What if Li Shanning went crazy and killed Qin Jingshen as well? Oh right, let's go visit your father together. We can talk about your engagement with Jingshen. Shen Jinghao wanted to use the engagement to pressure Qin Huanling so that he would do his best to help the Shen family get the herbs. The reason why he brought Qin Jinping was because he knew that Qin Jinping liked Qin Jingshen very much. With him adding fuel to the fire, Qin Huanling might agree for the sake of his son. Okay, that's great. Qin Jinping was very happy to hear that he was going to get engaged with Qin Jingshen. If they really got engaged, then Xiao Qin would be the best and Qin Jingshen would be his. Shen Jinghao drove to the warrior guild to Qin Huanling's office. Brother Shen, why are you here? Qin Huanling didn't hesitate and quickly got up to greet him. Although he was the vice leader of the warrior guild, Shen Jinghao was also a direct descendant of the Shen family, so he didn't dare to slight him. Haha, I saw Jinping when I sent Jingshen to school today. I chatted with him to see how his relationship with Jingshen is. Shen Jinghao smiled and said, we chatted, and Jinping said that he wanted to confirm his engagement with Jingshen as soon as possible, so I brought him here. Shen Jinghao was also very careful with his words. He turned his own intention into Qin Jinping's intention. However, Qin Jinping didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. This was his intention anyway. Shen Jinghao's words highlighted the weight of Qin Jinping's words. So it's like this. Engagement is a good thing. Qin Huanling nodded. I heard that the Yu family and the Tang family are also preparing to hold an engagement ceremony in the next few days. Speaking of which, these big families are almost ready. We can also make preparations here. Yes, but this is a big thing after all. I have to inform the Shen family. Shen Jinghao said, however, in order to show the ability of the in-laws, can Vice Leader Qin show some courage? Can you get some of the medicinal herbs I asked for before? This way Jinping will also have face. After all, to put it bluntly, although you're the vice president of the Songning Martial Arts Guild, the Shen family is. I know this. When Qin Huanling heard Shen Jinghao's words, he basically understood everything. He knew why Shen Jinghao was here. After all, it was still the matter of medicinal herbs. He said somewhat helplessly, Elder Brother Shen, it's not that I don't want to help you, but a while ago, I really asked shopkeeper Tai from the warrior market to help me deal with the Sun family. If I ask him again in such a short period of time, it's not very good. Besides, it's hard to say if he will continue to help. After all, favors are mutual. He didn't ask me for anything, so how can I ask him? Previously, Shen Jinghao thought that Qin Huanling's excuses were all excuses, but now that Qin Huanling said it so clearly, it didn't seem like he was lying. So, he could only smile bitterly and say, Brother Qin, Big Brother is really anxious. If he wasn't anxious, he wouldn't have come personally to talk about this. Alright, I'll ask for you. Qin Huanling also saw that Shen Jinghao was anxious. Looking at his son's expectant gaze, he knew that this kid was infatuated with Qin Jingshen and really wanted to get engaged. So, Qin Huanling could only put down his pride and ask Tai Muching for help again. Give me a list of the medicinal herbs you need. I'll go and talk to shopkeeper Tai now. Thank you so much, Brother Qin. Shen Jinghao was overjoyed. He quickly took out the list that he had prepared and handed it to Qin Huanling. This is it. The more the better. Alright, wait for me here with Jinping. Qin Huanling glanced at the list, nodded and left the office. Tai Muching didn't expect Qin Huanling to trouble him again. He looked at the list in his hand and casually put it to the side. He only smiled and said, Vice President Qin, you really think highly of me. These medicinal ingredients are all incomparably precious and limited. I can't even get a few of them in a year. Moreover, they all require a lot of points to exchange for them. Don't even talk about a large quantity, it'll be very strenuous for me to gather just one medicinal ingredient for you. If I directly sell them to you without points, I'll be making a huge mistake. If I were to be investigated by the higher-ups because of this, I'd be wasting my effort for nothing. Chapter 306. Qin Huanling was a little embarrassed. He had never heard of most of the medicinal herbs on this list. He wasn't a pharmacist and he didn't pay attention to these things. Naturally, he didn't know the value. When he heard that these medicinal herbs were so precious, he knew that things would be difficult. However, when he thought about it, if Shen Jinghao couldn't get them, how could the medicinal herbs that he had to ask the warrior's market to find be ordinary? Then how many can I get at most? Qin Huanling asked quickly. At most, I can get you 4 to 5 medicinal herbs, and the quantity isn't much. It's the stock of our Songning warriors market over the years. If I want more, I need to book it with the headquarters. However, I don't have a reason to do so, and I don't have enough points to pay the bill. Tai Muching said, so, I hope that Vice President Chen can understand my difficulties. Tai Muching didn't want to offend Qin Huanling, but he wouldn't risk his life to help him. Although Qin Huanling occupied a key position, the Hong family had to spend a lot of effort to befriend him. Therefore, Qin Huanling didn't want to apply for these medicinal herbs for him. Moreover, even if he applied, he could only apply for 1 or 2 of each. He, Tai Muching, didn't have the ability to do more. Only 4 to 5. Qin Huanling could only smile bitterly. Then I'll have to trouble Vice President Huanling. To be honest, these are what my in-laws, the Shen family, want. I have no choice but to try my best. And I'll try my best. Tai Muching nodded. Qin Huanling couldn't say anything else, so he could only leave first. When he returned to his office, he saw Shen Jinghao looking at him with anticipation. He didn't hide anything and told Shen Jinghao exactly what Gui Muching had told him. After listening, Shen Jinghao couldn't help but be silent. Indeed, he understood what Tai Muching said. The medicinal herbs that the Shen family needed were extremely precious and rare. If they were easy to purchase, they wouldn't need to ask Qin Huanling. However, it seemed that Shen Jinghao still overestimated Qin Huanling's ability. It seemed that even the president of the Songning Warriors Guild wouldn't have an easy time ordering these medicinal herbs. Not to mention more than one portion, it was impossible. Thinking of this, Shen Jinghao could not help but feel a little disappointed. If he did not have an advantage in the procurement of medicinal herbs, then Shen Jingmao would be at a disadvantage in the future young master election. The Shen family's selection of successors wasn't based on age, but the one who could bring benefits to the development of the Shen family and make the Shen family prosperous would be the head of the family. This was also the rule that had been set in the past. Originally, the Shen family was similar to these ordinary aristocratic families. However, after several generations of hard work, it had become more and more like the colorful Li family. Although their foundation was not as good as the Li family's, their overall strength was more or less the same. Brother Qin, please do your best in this matter. Shen Jinghao said, as for other channels, I will think of another way. No problem. As you can see, it's not that I don't want to help, but it's really difficult. Qin Huanling said, but Brother Shen, I suggest you contact the Xie family in the provincial capital and see if they can help you with a few medicinal herbs. But I don't have any way. Shen Jinghao and the Xie family didn't have much interaction. After all, he was also an outsider, so he said, I don't know if Brother Qin has any way? Way, there is, but I still have to ask Manager Tai. Qin Huanling smiled bitterly. I really can't find him to talk about it. If that's the case, I understand. Alright, I will go find them myself. Shen Jinghao also knew that Qin Huanling was not shirking the responsibility, but he really couldn't help. Brother Shen, how did you decide on the marriage between Jinpeng and Jingxian? Qin Huanling asked. I mean, after all, the 2 children are still young. They are currently only in high school. Let's wait until they go to university before holding the engagement ceremony. Shen Jinghao was a little disinterested. He was not an extremely snobbish person, but for the sake of his son, Shen Jingmao, some things must be considered thoroughly. Right now, the Qin family couldn't provide him with that much help, so there was no need for Shen Jinghao to throw out his chips too early. After all, Qin Jingquan was in trouble before, and Jinpeng is considered a replacement. If we directly get engaged now, it will be easy for people to gossip. Is that so? Qin Huanling's expression changed slightly. Although he was the vice president of the warrior guild, he hadn't been in this position for long. The Qin family was only an ordinary aristocratic family. They weren't as influential as the Shen family. No matter what, Shen Jingxian would be considered marrying down. Therefore, although he was a little unhappy with Shen Jinghao's words, he didn't dare to directly object. He could only nod and say, then everything will be arranged by Brother Shen. Alright, then I'll settle it. Shen Jinghao nodded. Although the Qin family could currently provide little help to Shen Jingmao, in reality, Shen Jinghao couldn't find a better partner, so he didn't refuse. With Qin Huanling's position, Qin Huanling had more connections than the other aristocratic families. Although he couldn't gather all the medicinal ingredients, it would be good if he could gather some. After bidding farewell to Qin Huanling, Shen Jinghao left with Qin Jinpeng. He sent Qin Jinpeng back to school, while Xin Jinghao went to find people familiar with the Xia family to pull some strings. Qin Jinping's expression immediately collapsed after he got out of the car. Although he was a little stunned, if he couldn't understand such a clear sentence, then he would really have lived for nothing. As for Xin Jinghao, because he didn't receive enough help from his father, he wasn't willing to marry his daughter. However, Qin Jinping was a junior. Although he understood, what could he do without his father's opinion? What he wanted most now was whether he could push Xin Jingxian down. As long as he pushed Xin Jingxian down, then even if Xin Jinghao didn't agree, there was nothing he could do. What was done was done. What else could he do? However, with the current relationship between Qin Jinping and Xin Jingxian, let alone push her down, it was impossible for them to even hold hands. This was really difficult. He walked into school with a gloomy face, planning to discuss with Chao Yuliang to see if there was any good way. If it was an ordinary girl, then he could do it by force. However, if it was Xin Jingxian, then there would be a lot of problems. If it was done well, he could let Xin Jingxian marry him. If it wasn't done well, then they would be mortal enemies. Qin Jinping couldn't afford the consequences. Qing Mingqiang was scolded yesterday, partly because of LV Fangzhen and also because he broke a piece of ancient jade. Although Qing Mingqiang explained, he didn't know that LV Fangzhen and Xiao Chen weren't on the same side. He thought that they came together, so he talked nonsense. LV Fangzhen didn't want to deal with the Cheng family. As for the spiritual jade, since it could be broken, then it was fake, so he didn't care so much. However, old Master Cheng still scolded Qing Mingqiang. The development of our Cheng family is done step by step. We can't offend any force. You are too impulsive. This time LV Fangzhen doesn't care, but next time someone else comes, it is likely to lead to the destruction of our Cheng family. Qing Mingqiang seemed to be a yes man on the surface, but he didn't think so in his heart. Pretending to be a grandson? What's the point of that? The Cheng family had already entered a bottleneck period in Songning City. What's so good about being the head of the aristocratic families? Out of Songning City, wouldn't we still be nothing? However, old Master Cheng seemed to be satisfied with this. He didn't continue to expand the Cheng family. Moreover, he began to be very cautious in dealing with people. He didn't dare to offend anyone. This was simply too depressing. Qing Mingqiang felt that it was good to rely on a big force like his father. Even if he offended some people, as long as the big force behind him didn't fall, then the Cheng family's meteoric rise was just around the corner. However, after being scolded by old Master Cheng, Qing Mingqiang hated Xiao Chen even more. Whether it was offending Medicine Master Lu or breaking the ancient jade, it was all because of Xiao Chen. However, the most important thing was that the force behind his father wanted Xiao Chen to die. Coming out of old Master Cheng's room, Qing Mingqiang returned to his room and dialed Chao Yuliang's phone number immediately. "Boss, are you looking for me?" Chao Yuliang picked up the phone with trepidation. He had just been scolded yesterday. He didn't know if Qing Mingqiang had calmed down today. "Chao Yuliang, I only ask you one question. When will Xiao Chen die?" Qing Mingqiang said angrily. Boss, I also want him to die, but there is no good way here for the time being." Chao Yuliang said with a bitter face. "Boss, I want him to die more than anyone else." "Don't say those useless things. I'm asking you, when will Xiao Chen die?" Qing Mingqiang interrupted Chao Yuliang's words and asked. "I will try my best. I will try to kill him as soon as possible." Chao Yuliang said weakly. "Okay, this is what you said. I will wait for your news. Don't let me wait too long. My patience is limited." "How long has it been?" "It has been more than a month since you guaranteed that Xiao Chen would die. I don't want to wait any longer." Qing Mingqiang was anxious because the forces behind his father were urging them to kill Xiao Chen as soon as possible. Wiping the cold sweat on his head, Chao Yuliang immediately dialed the phone number that Li Shanning left for him. If he wanted to kill Xiao Chen at present, he could only rely on Li Shanning. He wanted to see if Li Shanning had any new tricks. "Young Master Chao, what's the matter?" Li Shanning was preparing for the Righteous Devil Summit. Recently, he had been practicing hard and had not contacted Chao Yuliang. "Young Master Li, when will you continue to make a move? I am ready to be deployed at any time," Chao Yuliang said. "Oh, let's forget about that matter first. Our Li family has suffered heavy losses. I was also scolded by Grandpa. Grandpa said that the culprit who killed my elder brother should be Lin Chao, not Xiao Chen. Now that Lin Chao is dead, this matter is over. He won't let me do it again," Li Shanning said. Chapter 307. In fact, Li Shanning planned to kill Xiao Chen personally in a few days, but this kind of thing obviously couldn't be told to Chao Yuliang. He didn't want the news to be leaked. After all, the fact that he personally killed someone was not publicized. Chao Yuliang didn't need to know. The cooperation between the two was also over. Ah, I see. Chao Yuliang hung up the phone gloomily. He happened to see Qin Jinping walking over with a gloomy face. He couldn't help but wonder, Jinping, what's wrong with you? Why do you look so gloomy? Didn't you tell me that Uncle Shen was looking for you to talk about the marriage with Shen Jingshan? Don't mention it. Qin Jinping waved his hand and said, I guess Uncle Shen saw that my family didn't bring much help to the Shen family, so he regretted it a little. Originally, we agreed to talk about the engagement. In the end, my father didn't help him with it. He said that I replaced my elder brother, so it's not good to get engaged now. In short, he seemed to regret it a little. Chao Yuliang understood and patted Qin Jinping's shoulder. He said, sometimes love is really difficult. I don't know when Qing Menjing and I can be together. I was about to succeed before, but in the end, it was inexplicably ruined by a split personality. Brother Liang, what do you think? What's done can't be undone. Qin Jinping was really a little anxious. Originally, he thought that Shen Jingshan was in his pocket. It was great to bring the goddess home. But he didn't expect that today's events made him realize that there were still variables. Okay, but you don't have a chance. Shen Jingshan won't agree. Chao Yuliang said casually, unless you force yourself. I've also thought about this. If it's done well, it's fine. But if it's not done well, wouldn't my family and the Shen family become mortal enemies? In that case, we are no match for the Shen family. Qin Jinping shook his head and denied this absurd idea. Maybe. Chao Yuliang's eyes suddenly lit up. He slapped his thigh and said, Jinping, I think it's not impossible if this is handled well. Moreover, it's killing two birds with one stone. Chao Yuliang had been thinking about how to get rid of Xiao Qin. Since Li Shanying did not want to help, he could only think of a way himself. In the end, Qin Jinping suddenly mentioned this matter, which made him feel that it was not impossible. Moreover, not only was it possible to manipulate it, but it could also kill two birds with one stone by putting Xiao Qin inside and letting Xiao Qin die. What do you mean? Qin Jinping was stunned. He asked in confusion, Brother Liang, how do you kill two birds with one stone? Who do you want to carve? Of course it's Xiao Qin. Chao Yuliang's eyes narrowed and a sinister look flashed on his face. He said, what if the person who forced himself on you was Xiao Qin instead of you? Tell me whether it's the Qin family or the Shen family, who would let Xiao Qin go? Wouldn't they kill him on the spot? Moreover, even if he was killed, no one would be able to say anything. The warrior guild would not interfere either. Ah. Qin Jinping could not help but be dumbfounded. Brother Liang, what you mean is that Shen Jingshan has been played by Xiao Qin and has become a broken flower. Then she will marry no one but me? Isn't this nonsense? Even if Xiao Qin is dead, I don't like being cuckolded. I will feel disgusted for the rest of my life. You see, otherwise why would I be your boss and you can only be a follower? You are still not good at scheming. Chao Yuliang smiled and shook his head. You said that it was Xiao Qin's doing, but in reality he would not stop him from doing it, right? Do you know how to frame you? As long as we plan it well, you can pretend to be Xiao Qin and get Shen Jingshan. Then you can trick Xiao Qin. In this way, all the crimes will be put on Xiao Qin's head. He will not be able to defend himself. As for you, you can secretly take advantage of him and then marry Shen Jingshan. In the future, you can also make Shen Jingshan fall head over heels for you because she will always feel that she owes you. In fact, it is not a loss at all. F***CK. Brilliant. Qin Jinping praised after listening. Brother Liang, how did you come up with such a good idea? It's amazing. This is a good move. It's like killing three birds with one stone. How did it become three birds? Chao Yuliang was stunned. Brother Liang, look. Not only did I feel great, I even managed to carve Shen Jingshan here. Then, I also managed to carve the reputation of being a good person who never leaves or abandons me. I even managed to carve Xiao Qin to death. Isn't this killing three birds with one stone? Qin Jinping said. That makes sense. It seems that you are not stupid after all. Chao Yuliang nodded. This matter, with a little planning, it will be possible. NN. Qin Jinping nodded quickly. To be honest, he was already a little impatient. If not for the need to go through careful planning, he wanted to implement it now. Yu Xiaochuan's private villa. Yu Xiaochuan realized that his interest in Xiaosu was getting less and less. On the contrary, his interest in red hair had greatly increased. This strange change made him puzzled. What kind of principle is this? It's impossible. I didn't castrate myself. However, his tone of speaking also began to become softer. Moreover, he was shocked to discover that his chest seemed to have developed a little. Finally, this morning he completely lost interest in Xiaosu. Although he was interested in red hair, he sadly discovered that even if he was interested, he couldn't get hard. He simply wanted to pick up the soap. This is definitely not right. When this thought came out, Yu Shaochuan's entire body was simply creeped out. He didn't dare to neglect it. He quickly rushed to the hospital at the first instance to have a physical examination. After waiting for the examination results with great difficulty, Yu Shaochuan was called to the consultation room alone by the doctor. This doctor was a consultant privately hired by the Yu family, so Yu Shaochuan wasn't worried that he would leak the secret. "Young Master Kun, the problem with your body is a little serious." Dr. Ma looked at Yu Shaochuan with some worry. He wanted to say something but stopped. "Dr. Ma, if you have something to say, just say it. You are also our Yu family's private doctor. Just say what you want to say." Yu Shaochuan said quickly. "It's like this, young Master Kun. With all due respect, do you have a problem with your sexual orientation? Do you want to become a woman?" Dr. Ma looked at Yu Shaochuan's physical examination report and asked carefully. "What do you mean?" Yu Shaochuan was stunned. "Young Master Kun, this test and the data are written clearly. If you want me to say something, then I will say it. Your body is caused by injecting a large amount of female hormones and drugs used for sex change. This is the same as the drugs and hormones used by those transsexuals and transvestites. Right now, although you have male characteristics, the hormones in your body are seriously out of balance. It is much more than a normal man. Right now, your body is about 4/5 female hormones." Dr. Ma said. "What?" Yu Shaochuan was shocked after hearing it. "It can't be, Dr. Ma. I didn't inject any female hormones. How could this be? I'm not sure how it was caused. I'm just speaking according to the data. Young Master Kun, think about it. Did you do something strange recently?" Dr. Ma asked. Recently? There were some things that Yu Shaochuan could not say. If he had to say what he had done recently, it would be the transfusion of little Su's blood, and the incessant intercourse with little Su. But the transfusion of little Su's blood was written in the cultivation notes, and it did not say that he would become a woman. Moreover, it was specifically stated that this method wouldn't change gender. Moreover, there wouldn't be any adverse effects or reactions. How could such a strange situation occur? Young Master Kun, with all due respect, your current body problem is very serious. If you don't treat it as soon as possible, there might be a big problem. If you didn't intend to become a woman, then we have to take some measures." Dr. Ma said. "Let's wait for a while. Let me investigate first." Yu Shaochuan didn't dare to treat it casually. If he treated it, he wouldn't be able to cultivate the chrysanthemum treasure book. Wouldn't all his previous efforts be wasted? Moreover, according to the notes, using this method to cultivate had to be cultivated continuously. If he gave up halfway, then even castration wouldn't solve the problem. The most important thing was that the Lady of Mystery Yin couldn't be changed at will. If it was changed to someone else's blood, it was very likely that she would directly die from qi deviation. But now Yu Shaochuan suspected that there was a problem with little Su. "Alright, young Master Kun. What now?" Dr. Ma asked. "Dr. Ma, I'll bring another person over. You can check on her and see if there's any problem with her." Yu Shaochuan said. "Sure, no problem." Dr. Ma agreed to it readily. Hence, Yu Shaochuan called Red Hair and asked him to bring little Su to the hospital immediately. Red Hair didn't understand what happened. He was doing it with little Su. He quickly put on his clothes and rushed to the hospital with little Su. Yu Shaochuan didn't say much. He just asked Dr. Ma to bring little Su for a checkup. Little Su didn't know what to do either. He thought it was just the same as before, to check some indicators in the blood. After the checkup, Dr. Ma came back with the checkup report in his hand. His expression was extremely strange. He looked at Yu Shaochuan and wanted to say something but stopped. He said, "Young Master Kun, can you come in for a while?" "All right." Yu Shaochuan nodded and didn't let Red Hair and little Su in. "Young Master Kun." Dr. Ma didn't know what to say. "Dr. Ma, what's wrong with you? Why are you stuttering? If you have something to say, just say it. Is there a problem with little Su?" Yu Shaochuan asked quickly. "Little Su. In terms of her body's health, there's no problem. It can be said that she is a relatively successful transsexual. And young Master Kun, do you also want to transform into this?" Dr. Ma asked carefully. "What did you say?" Yu Shaochuan was shocked. He jumped up from the chair and suddenly widened his eyes. "What do you mean I want to transform? What do I want to transform? You said that little Su is a transsexual?" Chapter 308. That's right. Xiaosu is a transsexual. Young Master Kun, don't you know? Seeing Yu Xiaochuan's big reaction, Dr. Ma was a little confused. Previously, he thought that Yu Xiaochuan wanted to be a transsexual and brought a successful example to ask him. This example could be used as a reference if there were any adverse effects. But he didn't expect that Yu Xiaochuan didn't seem to know about this. What was going on? Ugh. Yu Xiaochuan thought about how he flirted with a transsexual every day. He almost vomited. He really couldn't understand why Xiaosu was a transsexual. Could it be that a transsexual also had the indicator of being a lady of Shenin? Young Master Kun, what's wrong with you? Dr. Ma was puzzled. Could Yu Xiaochuan be pregnant? This Yu family seemed to be a righteous family, but in fact they were so filthy on the inside. The rich circle was really messy. No. Nothing. Then what do you think of Xiaosu's indicator? Yu Xiaochuan took a deep breath and passed the indicator of being a lady of Shenin to Dr. Ma and asked. Oh, this indicator. This indicator is actually the indicator of hormones. Yours means that the female hormone accounts for more than 98%. Dr. Ma took a look at the indicator code provided by Yu Xiaochuan and said, in layman's terms, in a normal woman's body, the female hormone accounts for the majority. However, there is still a small amount of male hormone. It is rare to see a person who has more than 95% of female hormone. It is even more impossible to see a person who has more than 100%. Then what is Xiaosu's indicator? Yu Xiaochuan asked. 99%. Of course, she must have injected herself with a large amount of female hormone frequently. Otherwise the ratio wouldn't be so high. Dr. Ma said. F***ck. Yu Xiaochuan wanted to curse. Isn't this F***king a scam? After such a long time, I spent a lot of effort and money to get a transsexual. This is simply a cosmic black hole scam. Young Master Kun, this is... Dr. Ma didn't understand why Yu Xiaochuan would curse. Nothing. Then let me ask. If I castrate myself, will my male hormone decrease and female hormone increase? Yu Xiaochuan suddenly thought of an important question. Yes, that's right. Dr. Ma nodded. Yu Xiaochuan was really speechless this time. He finally understood some things. That was, using Xiaosu to train now was similar to castration training. Self-castration also increased female hormones and it was the same for him now. Then, if a normal woman with a lot of estrogen gives me a blood transfusion, will there be a problem? Of course not. If you say so, then men and women can't transfuse blood. Dr. Ma said, but if you transfuse little Sue's blood, there will definitely be some problems. Her blood seems to be injected with a lot of female hormones every day. From this, it can be seen that she hasn't changed for too long, so she has to be injected every day to maintain it. F***ck. Yu Xiaochuan cursed again. From the looks of it, the cultivation notes were not lying. Being a Shenin maiden was the safest way to cultivate, and Xiaosu was not King Shenin maiden, but King artificial transsexual. Young Master Kun, what's wrong with you? Dr. Ma asked carefully. You don't seem to be in a good mood. Hormonal imbalance will indeed lead to a bad mood. Yu Xiaochuan was frustrated. This Xiaosu really dug a pit for him. He was obviously a man, but he pretended to be a woman. Yet, the amount of female hormones in his body was on the high side, which made him mistakenly think that he was a Shenin maiden. However, the most crucial problem now was that Yu Xiaochuan knew that this was the case, but he still couldn't change the person. If he were to change the person, not only would all his previous efforts be wasted, he might even go berserk. Yu Xiaochuan wouldn't do such a risky thing. So, for a moment, Yu Xiaochuan's face was a little uncertain. He didn't know how to deal with this matter, but after thinking about it, the safest way was to admit it. Although Yu Xiaochuan felt as disgusted as if he had eaten a fly, he didn't have any other good ideas. He couldn't tell if it was because Xiaosu was a Shenin maiden that had an effect, or if it was the female hormones in Xiaosu's body that had an effect. However, from the looks of it now, the proportion of female hormones should be higher. However, this was just his own guess and he couldn't be sure. Moreover, this matter didn't have any scientific basis. He didn't dare to tell others. To be safe, he could only continue to make mistakes. Regardless of whether Xiaosu was a Shenin maiden, or whether it was the hormone injected into his body, since Yu Xiaochuan had successfully embarked on the road of cultivation, he wouldn't change it easily. Dr. Ma, if I continue to use female hormones, will I become yours? Yu Xiaochuan hesitated and asked. That's right. Although I can't say that you can become yours, your body state will definitely be closer to that of a woman, unless you completely do a sex change operation. Dr. Ma said. Alright, I got it. I won't do the operation first, but Dr. Ma, you must keep this a secret. After Yu Xiaochuan finished speaking, He took out a bank card from his pocket and handed it to Dr. Ma. He said, "This is your payment for your hard work. Don't mention it, young Master Kun. Don't worry, I'm your Yu family's private doctor. I won't casually say anything. I don't know anything and you haven't been here before," Dr. Ma said quickly. In fact, Dr. Ma understood the style of these aristocratic children, especially a hypocrite like Yu Shaochuan. He said one thing and did another. Even if he wasn't given a single cent, he wouldn't dare to say anything. If he angered Yu Shaochuan, he might just kill him. "Alright, I'll leave first." Yu Shaochuan nodded. He felt disgusted in his heart and his stomach couldn't help but turn sour. "Young Master Kun, why did you call us here?" Redhead and Xiaosu waited at the door for a long time, but nothing happened. When they saw Yu Shaochuan come out, they immediately stood up and greeted him. "Nothing much, let's go back." Yu Shaochuan shook his head, but he didn't expose them. He planned to continue using Xiaosu's blood in the future. As for copulation, he didn't need it. He wasn't disgusted enough. When Xiaosu's value was gone, Yu Shaochuan decided to get rid of Xiaosu. He wanted to start a fight with Redhead, but after thinking about it, he couldn't blame Redhead. After all, Redhead only spoke based on data. Redhead didn't know there was a problem with Xiaosu. In fact, Yu Shaochuan knew that Redhead had been secretly fooling around with Xiaosu these days. There were cameras in the villa, so Yu Shaochuan knew exactly what Redhead and Xiaosu were doing. Yu Shaochuan was angry at first, but then he thought that he didn't really like Xiaosu. This woman was just a tool that could be used, so he didn't care too much. But later, Yu Shaochuan realized that he actually liked to peek at Redhead's fight with Xiaosu. Moreover, his eyes were always on Redhead, so he didn't hate Redhead so much. He even fantasized that Xiaosu would become him. Before, Yu Shaochuan thought that his thoughts were too weird, but now he finally understood. He was starting to change. He was starting to become a sissy who liked men. That night, Elder Tang invited Yu Shaochuan to his house for dinner. If it was in the past, he would be more than happy to go. After he went, he would be able to interact more with Tang Tang. Who knows, he might even be able to stay the night. But now he suddenly realized that he had no interest in Tang Tang at all. Not even a little bit. He suddenly felt that Redhead and Xiao Chen were both very handsome. Damn it, Yu Shaochuan cursed in his heart. If he knew this was going to happen, he would have castrated himself. Now he was neither a man nor a woman, and he even had psychological problems. Even if he still had that thing, it wouldn't be of any use. Yu Shaochuan drove to the Tang family's house. This time, the guard at the door treated him with great courtesy. However, Yu Shaochuan was extremely unhappy. Previously, he was looking forward to entering this door and being with Tang Tang again. But now he had no interest in Tang Tang at all. All he had left now was the secret between him and Elder Tang that couldn't be told. "Tang Tang, Yu Shaochuan is here. Go greet him," Elder Tang said as he arrived at Tang Tang's room. Over the past 2 days, Tang Tang hadn't stepped out of the house and hadn't eaten much. She had been depressed the entire time. Elder Tang had no choice but to order someone to bring her food, but she refused to eat. Left with no choice, Elder Tang forced her to eat something while watching her. In reality, Tang Tang wasn't on a hunger strike. She simply couldn't eat. Since Xiao Chen said that he would definitely come looking for her one day, what was there for Tang Tang to worry about? However, whenever she thought about pretending to be courteous with Yu Shaochuan, she felt disgusted. In the past, her impression of Yu Shaochuan wasn't bad. Although she couldn't say that she liked him, rumors said that Yu Shaochuan was a gentleman and that he was the leader of the younger generation. Tang Tang felt that she was lucky. At least, she wasn't like Cheng Menjing, who had to marry a hedonistic good-for-nothing. However, who would have thought that the tables would turn? Instead, she felt that Cheng Menjing was the luckiest and she was the unluckiest. Yu Shaochuan was simply too shameless. He had already broken off the engagement and given her to Xiao Chen. He even allowed Xiao Chen to take advantage of her foundation. Now he refused to admit it and wanted to continue the engagement with her. She had seen shameless people before, but she had never seen someone as shameless as this. It was like slapping herself in the face. Even so, if the Tang family agreed to Yu Shaochuan's request to resume the engagement, there was nothing Tang Tang could do. Oh, I got it. Tang Tang knew that she couldn't avoid it. If she didn't go, who knew how much her grandfather would annoy her? Tang Tang's affection for the Tang family had already faded. Chapter 309. Once upon a time, she was treated as a disgrace to the Tang family. She was abandoned by the Yu family and kicked out of the Tang family. Now that she was back and looking at her family, she did not feel any sense of kinship at all. Tang Tang followed her grandfather downstairs and arrived at the main entrance of the Tang family home. Just then Yu Xiaochuan walked in. Xiaochuan, you're here. Today is the Tang family's gathering day. All the descendants of the Tang family will be back for dinner. From now on, you will also be a member of the Tang family. Consider this a chance to familiarize yourself with the environment. Tang Tang accompanied Xiaochuan for a walk around the house. Oh. Tang Tang nodded. Yu Xiaochuan couldn't help but furrow his brows. In the past, he would have happily walked around with Tang Tang to improve their relationship. But now he was too lazy to even look at Tang Tang. He had lost all interest. Instead he thought of red hair. Forget about the walk. Grandfather Tang, are you free now? I have something to ask you. Yu Xiaochuan didn't even look at Tang Tang as he said this. Oh, that's good. Grandfather Tang was slightly surprised. He actually wanted to talk to Yu Xiaochuan about cultivating the chrysanthemum treasure book. But in his opinion, Yu Xiaochuan had just arrived and would definitely spend some time with Tang Tang. He didn't expect that Yu Xiaochuan wouldn't even look at Tang Tang. This made him feel a little strange. Tang Tang was also surprised. What was wrong with Yu Xiaochuan? He seemed to be indifferent towards her. He didn't even look at her. What did he mean by that? However, this was even better. She was too lazy to feign civility with Yu Xiaochuan. Now she didn't even need to put on an act. She directly said, Grandfather, since Yu Xiaochuan wants to talk to you about something, I won't bother you anymore. I'll return to my room first. Call me when it's time to eat. Okay. Grandpa Tang nodded and watched Tang Tang leave. After Tang Tang left, Yu Xiaochuan said to Grandpa Tang, Grandpa Tang, there might be something wrong with my body. Something wrong? What do you mean? Grandfather Tang was surprised. Something wrong with your body? Sort of. Yu Xiaochuan nodded his head and said, although I haven't castrated myself, my sexual orientation and physical condition have changed. I don't like women anymore and that thing is no longer useful. Instead, I've started to become interested in men. Elder Tang, have you experienced the same thing? Yu Xiaochuan did not hide anything from Grandfather Tang. After all, the two of them practiced the same mantra, so he was not afraid of anyone revealing it. What's going on? Grandfather Tang was shocked and asked, what's wrong with you? I'm fine with it. I'm not interested in women, but I'm even less interested in men. Yu Xiaochuan sighed and told him about Xiaosu's situation. After all, the two of them had secrets that they could not reveal to others. Even if they were in the same boat, there was no need to hide anything. If he told them about it, old Master Tang could at least help him cover it up. Then you're in big trouble. After Grandfather Tang heard this, he furrowed his eyebrows and couldn't help but worry. With your current physical condition, will Tang Tang leak the secret if you're together? You can't have sex with her, so you can't have sex with her. If that happens, your problem will be exposed sooner or later. I've considered this problem. You and I both practice the same mantra, and I can't possibly not get married. I'll have to get married sooner or later. So, it's best for me to marry Tang Tang. If I marry a woman from another family, and something happens, I won't be able to cover it up. Yu Xiaochuan said. But now that something has happened to you, I can cover it up for you. As for Tang Tang, I'm afraid she'll leak it out. If she leaks it, you're done for. Who knows, she might even implicate me. Grandfather Tang's expression was a little ugly. To be honest, Yu Xiaochuan's situation had nothing to do with him. However, he was most afraid that Yu Xiaochuan would be exposed after practicing the chrysanthemum treasured book. If that happened, he would be implicated as well. Then the gains would not make up for the losses. However, it was impossible for him to reject Yu Xiaochuan's marriage at this moment. If Yu Xiaochuan decided to go all out and spread the news, then Grandfather Tang would really be crippled. So, to be on the safe side, Grandfather Tang couldn't reject Yu Xiaochuan's suggestion. He pondered for a moment, then nodded his head and said, Fine, I'll try my best to cover it up for you. Tang Tang doesn't like you anyway, so it's normal for her to not sleep with you after they get married. But I'm afraid that your Yu family will be pressing me for a grandchild. If it really doesn't work, then I'll let Tang Tang have a child with someone else. That way we'll be able to cover it up. Yu Xiaochuan gritted his teeth, his eyes flashing with determination. Have a child with someone else? Let's not talk about whether Tang Tang is willing or not. Even if she is willing, if this matter is exposed, it won't be any less serious than us practicing the chrysanthemum treasured book. Both our families will become the laughing stock of the aristocratic families. Grandfather Tang's expression suddenly changed. Don't worry, let her have a child with that B*TC Xiaochen. That guy. I think she likes being with Xiaochen a lot. Yu Xiaochuan originally wanted to scold Xiao Qin, but the image of Xiao Qin appeared in his mind. He suddenly felt that Xiao Qin was very handsome. Tang Tang was really lucky. Back then, why didn't he keep the photo of Tang Tang helping Xiao Qin with his mouth? If only he had kept it, then he could have imagined that Tang Tang was him. We'll see how it goes. But for the time being, it's best not to expose this matter. Otherwise, it won't do either of us any good, Grandfather Tang warned. Don't worry about this, I'm not an idiot, Yu Xiaochuan said. At dinner time, the second and third generation of the Tang family returned. They all expressed their welcome to Yu Xiaochuan. Since Yu Xiaochuan had no competitive relationship with them, and if the marriage was successful, it would be a great help to the Tang family. Naturally, they wanted to have a good relationship with him. Tang Tang sat next to Yu Xiaochuan, but the two of them didn't say a word. This made Tang Tang a little confused. What kind of game was Yu Xiaochuan playing? Or did he think that she would be his sooner or later, so he didn't bother to please her? When the engagement ceremony was over, he would directly push her down. After all, the engagement ceremony wasn't far away, so Tang Tang felt that this might really be a possibility. Only Grandfather Tang knew about Yu Xiaochuan's situation. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He didn't have a lot of control over Tang Tang to begin with. If Tang Tang really discovered the secret after the marriage and exposed it, he would probably be dragged into it. He could only hope that Tang Tang would continue to hate Yu Xiaochuan and not take the initiative to have sex with him. He would delay it as long as possible. After dinner, Yu Xiaochuan didn't stay for long and left the Tang family. To his surprise, at the gate of the Yu family, Yu Xiaochuan saw an unexpected person. It was Xin Zhenghao from the Shen family. Uncle Shen, why are you standing here? Yu Xiaochuan stopped the car and asked. I'm waiting for you here. Xin Zhenghao said with a smile. He wanted to contact the Xie family, so after thinking about it, he could only think of Yu Xiaochuan. Xin Zhenghao and Yu Xiaochuan were old friends. When Xin Zhenghao wanted to choose a fiancé for Xin Jingxian, he also considered Yu Xiaochuan because Yu Xiaochuan was also a young talent. Most importantly, the Yu family was also a branch of the famous Yu family. The Yu family was a huge existence comparable to the Shen family, and the Yu family also had a wide range of connections. However, at that time, Yu Xiaochuan also said that he was still engaged to Tang Tang, so it wasn't appropriate for him to find a partner with great fanfare. Xin Zhenghao was also anxious, so the matter was left unsettled. However, Yu Xiaochuan was a smart person. Although he didn't have a marriage alliance with the Shen family, he had a good personal relationship with Xin Zhenghao. It just so happened that Xin Zhenghao could use him. Waiting for me? Yu Xiaochuan was slightly surprised, but then he smiled and said, Uncle Shen, you're too polite. I'm just a junior. How could I let you wait here? If you wanted to find me, I would have come over with a call. Why did you have to wait here? Xiaochuan, I don't want to hide it from you. This time I came to ask for your help. Xin Zhenghao said with a smile. Ask me? Uncle Shen, let's talk in the car. Yu Xiaochuan didn't put on airs, but respectfully invited Xin Zhenghao to get in the car, and then said, Uncle Shen, if there's anything, just say it. If I can help, I will try my best to help. Well, I heard that you have a good relationship with Wang Xiongzhuang, the young master of the Wang family in the city? Xin Zhenghao asked. Oh yes, we are classmates. He is my senior in the student union. When I was in junior high school, he was in high school. He helped me a lot in school. Yu Xiaochuan said. He didn't evade because Xin Zhenghao had probably already investigated his relationship. Then can you ask him to introduce me to someone from the Xie family? I heard that he is the son-in-law of the Xie family? Xin Zhenghao beat around the bush and finally said his purpose. If that's the case, there should be no problem. After Yu Xiaochuan heard it, he didn't think it was a big deal. It was just a recommendation. For him, it was just a small effort, so he readily agreed. Uncle Shen, I will call Brother Wang first. I will ask him out. If he agrees, then there will be no problem. Okay, then I will trouble you, Xiaochuan. I will wait for your good news. Xin Zhenghao nodded and was a little happy. He didn't expect Yu Xiaochuan to agree so readily. No trouble, it's fine. Yu Xiaochuan waved his hand, took out his phone, and dialed Wang Xiongzhuang's number. Brother, this is Yu Xiaochuan. How is it? Are you free tonight? I will treat you to a drink. Let's not drink. Your sister-in-law is pregnant. I have to stay at home with her. Wang Xiongzhuang's words were filled with pride and joy. Ever since he was cured of his natural castration by Hero White Fox, he had been full of energy every day. Not long after, his girlfriend became pregnant. This made him surprised and happy. Chapter 310. He thought that he was going to die, but he suddenly had a child. It was a pleasant surprise. Ah, sister-in-law is pregnant? Yu Xiaochuan was stunned, and his eyes flashed with disbelief. Although Wang Xiongzhuang didn't tell Yu Xiaochuan about him, according to Yu Xiaochuan's observation, Wang Xiongzhuang was a eunuch, and he had secretly seen Wang Xiongzhuang's medical report, but he didn't expose it. So, after hearing Wang Xiongzhuang say that his girlfriend was pregnant, Yu Xiaochuan's first thought was that Wang Xiongzhuang was cuckolded because Wang Xiongzhuang was impotent. How did his girlfriend get pregnant? But looking at his happy tone, it didn't seem like it. Could it be that he was a father? Yeah, it's an accident, right? Ah, so I can't go out and drink with you. Wang Xiongzhuang smiled and said, wait. Then I'll go to your house to see sister-in-law. She's pregnant. It's a happy occasion. I'll go buy some fruits and come over. Senior, wait for me. Yu Xiaochuan said. That's fine, then you come. Wang Xiongzhuang didn't refuse. Yu Xiaochuan and Wang Xiongzhuang had always had a good relationship, so he knew very well that his marriage with the Xie family was only for profit. In fact, it was in name only. He had his own girlfriend, and this girlfriend never left him, so he was very surprised that his girlfriend suddenly got pregnant. Okay, then you guys go to the study room and talk. I won't disturb you here. Seeing that Yu Xiaochuan should have something to talk about, Xiaoling didn't say much. Yu Xiaochuan and Wang Xiongzhuang came to the study room together. Wang Xiongzhuang said, Xiaochuan, you asked me to go out for a drink. Is there something going on? It's not just for fun, right? To be honest, I do have something, but before that, I don't know if I should say something. Yu Xiaochuan suddenly realized that he liked to gossip like a woman. It was simply uncontrollable. What's the matter? Wang Xiongzhuang was stunned. You and I have worked together in the student union for many years. We are quite familiar with each other. What else can't be said? It's like this. Sister-in-law, how did you get pregnant? Yu Xiaochuan thought that if Wang Xiongzhuang was cuckolded, then they would have a common language. He also planned to let Tang Tang be cuckolded. How did I get pregnant? I accidentally got pregnant. Wang Xiongzhuang was a little confused and didn't quite understand what Yu Xiaochuan meant. Senior brother, don't play dumb with me. Actually, once I accidentally saw your medical report from the hospital. I know about your situation. I heard that sister-in-law is pregnant, so I rushed over. Senior brother, if there's anything you're unhappy about, you can nag me. Yu Xiaochuan had a curious and gossipy look on his face. Xiaochuan, why are you acting like a woman now? And you speak in a soft voice. Your personality has really changed a lot. Wang Xiongzhuang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He didn't expect Yu Xiaochuan to know about his hidden illness. But he didn't have anything to hide now. Anyway, it was cured. So he said, yes, I did have a problem before, but my Xie family's marriage partner introduced me to a ruthless person. He was a superhuman and he cured my natural castration. That's simply too miraculous. Just one dose of medicine and the illness was cured. It's 10,000 times better than any medicine master. So miraculous? Yu Xiaochuan couldn't help but be a little surprised. He didn't expect there to be such a master. He knew that with the Wang family's relationship, it was not a problem to find some senior pharmacists to treat him. These pharmacists were helpless, but he was actually cured by a superhuman? Yes, it's really amazing. Wang Xiongzhuang said with reverence, this person is not only skilled in medicine, but also a real superhuman. That means, tut-tut, killing people invisibly. As for the details, I won't say because I'm afraid that if I say too much, it will be perceived by the superhuman, and then I'll be killed through the air. Yu Xiaochuan looked inexplicable. He can be killed through the air? Is this person really so powerful? You don't believe it? When you really meet him, you'll know how powerful he is. Don't accidentally offend him. You won't even know how you die. Wang Xiongzhuang patted Yu Xiaochuan's shoulder and reminded him. He used to teach Yu Xiaochuan like this in school. Yu Xiaochuan was still very convinced by his senior's words. He knew that his senior was an upright person, and he had always taught him unreservedly, never hiding anything, so Yu Xiaochuan believed him a little. Is sister-in-law Xie Fei also pregnant? Yu Xiaochuan thought that if Xie Fei was also pregnant, then the relationship between the Wang family and the Xie family would be a step closer, and it would be easier to ask Wang Xiongzhuang for help. Don't talk nonsense. Concubine Xie is not your senior brother's woman? Wang Xiongzhuang suddenly lowered his voice and said mysteriously, Concubine Xie is the woman of that adept god. Otherwise, how could I suddenly find a way to cure my chronic illness after so many years of not having a way? Damn. Yu Xiaochuan's eyes widened. This relationship was messy enough. Then this superhuman is really powerful. Senior, can you help me introduce him? Originally, Yu Xiaochuan came to Wang Xiongzhuang just to help Xin Zhenghao build a relationship, but he didn't expect to have an unexpected gain. If this paranormal god is so powerful, can you solve the problem of your own body? Although Yu Xiaochuan suddenly found that it was good to be a woman, he was also afraid of being exposed. If the fact that he practiced evil martial arts was exposed, then he would be dead. It was simply a big scandal for a prestigious family. Wang Xiongzhuang thought about it. At the beginning, Hero White Fox didn't seem to refuse to help him introduce customers, so he thought about it and said, I can, but this superhuman's remuneration is relatively high, and his temper is a bit weird. It's okay, it's okay. Yu Xiaochuan nodded again and again. That's fine. You remember you can't call him superhuman in front of him. Wang Xiongzhuang reminded, this name is for us to say. It's not good to say it in front of him. Okay, what should I call him? Yu Xiaochuan asked. You should call him Hero White Fox. Wang Xiongzhuang said. What? Yu Xiaochuan was stunned after hearing it, and then suddenly widened his eyes. Hero White Fox? Yes, what's wrong? Wang Xiongzhuang was a little puzzled by Yu Xiaochuan's reaction. He is on the Warrior Guild's mission commissioning platform. Is his code name White Fox? Yu Xiaochuan asked. Yes, that's right. How did you know? Wang Xiongzhuang probably knew something about White Fox. The Xie family's mission to find the child was posted on the Warrior Guild's platform. Later it was accepted by White Fox. I know him and we've worked together a few times. I should be quite familiar with him. Yu Xiaochuan jumped up. So he is the superhuman? Damn, I really don't know that I'm guarding a treasure mountain. I didn't even think about having such a powerful person by my side. Speaking of this, Yu Xiaochuan picked up his phone and entered the Warrior Guild's mission platform. He sent a private message to White Fox and said, Hero White Fox, are you there? What? Xiaochuan replied. That, my senior is Wang Xiongzhuang. I wonder if Hero has any impression of him? Yu Xiaochuan asked. I know. Isn't he my woman's husband in name? Why are you looking for me? If you have something to say, say it. Don't try to get close to me. Xiaochuan replied. But it's like this. I've been having some problems with my body recently. There's too much estrogen in my body. I've become a little like a woman. Also, the toilet isn't working well. Can you help me treat it? Yu Xiaochuan asked. Xiaochuan glanced at the private message on his phone and almost replied, That's great. But he still said, 1. Stop using the estrogen. 2. Go to the hospital for a sex change operation. Hero White Fox, aren't you a superhuman? Can't you help me think of a way? I can't stop the estrogen for the time being and I don't want to have a sex change. Although Yu Xiaochuan replied this way, he suddenly thought that it was actually quite good to be a woman, wasn't it? You want to cultivate the chrysanthemum treasure book and that's it. How can there be such a good thing in this world? I can't help you, Xiaochuan said. When Yu Xiaochuan saw the words chrysanthemum treasure book on the screen, his face suddenly stiffened. Hero White Fox actually knew that he was cultivating the chrysanthemum treasure book? How did he know? Could it be that, when he asked him to translate the demonic text and asked him how to find the Lady of Mysterious Een, he had already guessed it? Hero White Fox, how did you know? Could it be that you also cultivated it? Yu Xiaochuan's face was a little pale. If this matter was exposed, it would be a fatal blow to him. But if Hero White Fox also cultivated it, then they would be on the same path. Not only would they not need to hide it, but they could also learn from each other. The chrysanthemum treasure book is too trashy. I don't want to cultivate it. I'm a superhuman. Do you have anything else? No, I'm busy. Xiaochuan said impatiently. Trashy? Yu Xiaochuan couldn't help but smile bitterly. Perhaps only superhumans would think that the chrysanthemum treasure book was trashy? It seemed that superhumans were really amazing existences. However, after listening to the other party, Yu Xiaochuan wasn't worried anymore. It seemed that Hero White Fox didn't care about the chrysanthemum treasure book at all, so he was probably too lazy to tell others. Besides, superhumans were very amazing, and they didn't seem to casually talk about gossip. If he hadn't heard about the matter between concubine Xie and White Fox from Wang Xiongzhuang today, it seemed that White Fox's secrecy measures were quite good. Then Hero White Fox, let's keep in touch. This time, Yu Xiaochuan didn't want to cut off contact with Hero White Fox. This person was really amazing and he had to be on good terms with him. Maybe he could help him at a critical moment. Chapter 311. Xiaochuan simply ignored him. Seeing that Yu Xiaochuan was sending messages non-stop, Wang Xiongzhuang was somewhat puzzled. When Yu Xiaochuan finished, he asked, "Xiaochuan, what are you doing?" "Nothing. I'm just contacting Master White Fox to confirm it. It's indeed the one I know. However, I didn't know that Master White Fox was so awesome. All the troubles I went to him to solve were small ones." Yu Xiaochuan waved his hand and said, "That's right. I came to see you this time mainly to ask you to introduce someone from the Xie family. I have an elder who wants to do some business with the Xie family. Senior brother, do you think you can help me? Just ask them out. Anyway, it's up to them whether or not the business is successful. I'm just a middleman." "Xiaochuan, since you've asked, it's definitely not a problem." Wang Xiongzhuang did not take it seriously. It was a piece of cake for him. He had cooperated with the Xie family before. The one he had more contact with was a man named Xie Chen from the second branch of the Xie family. Of course, he was also in touch with Emperor Xie. After all, Emperor Xie was his brother-in-law in name. This time, the person he planned to contact was Emperor Xie. After all, Xie Chen was just an errand boy in the Xie family and did not have the final say. "Okay. Thank you, senior brother." Now that it was done, Yu Xiaochuan did not want to stay any longer. "Senior brother, when you're done, call me anytime. I'm always free. I won't disturb your rest anymore. I'll go back now." "Okay, I'll call you." Wang Xiongzhuang agreed quickly. 2 flowers bloom each with its own branch. This morning Xiaochen drove to school. Of course, he had to go to the Qing family to pick up Qing Menjing and Jin Beibei first. They had taken his car to school yesterday, so he naturally had to pick them up today. "Beibei, why are you so slow? Don't you know that the school is far from here? Do you want to be late?" Qing Menjing dragged Jin Beibei to Xiao Chen's car quickly. Cousin Menjing, stop pulling me. I'm so full that I can't walk anymore." Jin Beibei staggered forward. "Who asked you to eat so much? You ate so much yesterday and you still ate so much this morning. Are you freeloading?" Qing Menjing quickened her pace, causing Jin Beibei to stumble. That's right, it's free food." Jin Beibei nodded. "It'll be a waste if I don't eat it. Right, Cousin Menjing, it's great that you're celebrating your birthday. There are so many delicious dishes. Why don't you suggest to the family that we celebrate your birthday every day? You can also receive more gifts. Why don't you celebrate your birthday every day? Wouldn't I be in my 70s and 80s before long?" Qing Menjing glared at Jin Beibei. "It's not enough for me to celebrate my birthday once a year. I will always be 18. Jin Beibei said, "When you grow older you will like mature girls, those with big breasts and perky buttocks like Beibei." Qing Menjing rolled her eyes at her and ignored her. The two of them got into the car while chatting. Jin Beibei sat in the passenger seat. The moment she got into the car, Jin Beibei looked around and sniffed. Then she said exaggeratedly, "Holy sh*t. Cousin, did you and Sister Jingxian have sex in the car last night?" "What do you mean?" Xiaochen was surprised. He asked calmly. Did Jin Beibei notice something? That was impossible. "Look, there are traces of dried liquid here. There's also a weird smell." Jin Beibei pointed at the seat and said, "No clue can escape Detective Bei 007's eyes." Xiaochen was greatly alarmed. Was it really caused by Goddess Shen when she was in love last night? However, Xiaochen did not show it on the surface, showing doubt on his face. "Detective Bei 007? Beibei, you must have watched too many TV dramas on your tablet last night." Qing Menjing did not believe Jin Beibei's words. How could Jingxian have fallen for Xiaochen? He is just my servant. Besides, the car was given by Li Shanying. It must have been done by the disgusting Li Shanying. "Oh, is that so?" Jin Beibei scratched her head. "I thought that it was Sister Jingshuan's car. So it's fine. Chances are that you will have multiple batches with us in the future, and it will be hard for you to complain. But if it is Li Shanying's woman, it will be truly disgusting." While talking, Jin Beibei picked up a napkin and threw it on the seat before she sat down. Qing Menjing was immediately rendered speechless. What kind of nonsense was that? Shin Jingxian did not complain? Multiple batches? What kind of idea was that? Tell Grandpa Jin to beat you up. However, Xiaochen did not dare to say anything because he was guilty. Suddenly, he felt that he did not know how to deal with the relationship between Shin Jingxian and the eldest lady. The eldest lady thought that it was impossible for them to be together, but, although Xiaochen was no longer the eldest lady's fiancé, he still felt that he had wronged the eldest lady somehow. After they arrived at the school, Xiaochen walked to the familiar seat. He had mixed feelings when he saw that his desk mate was Song Huawu instead of Tang Tang. "Hey, was Qing Minjing's birthday party last night fun?" Song Huawu only glimpsed at Xiao Qin and then continued to read her book without raising her eyes. However, her voice came over. Was fine. I don't believe that you did not receive the news, said Xiao Qin casually. I did. Did you pretend to be an idiot named Xiao Yuliang? Asked Song Huawu. Why do you say that? Asked Xiao Qin. I felt that it was you, said Song Huawu. Did anyone else feel it? Xiao Qin continued to ask. No, said Song Huawu. By the way, I heard that Songning City will hold a small summit between the two factions. It will be held soon, said Xiao Qin. Oh, Yi Xiaoya told you that? Song Huawu was stunned. Sure enough. Yes, but Yi Xiaoya told my other identity, White Fox, said Xiao Qin. She wants you to go too? Asked Song Huawu. Yes, she wants me to help. Xiao Qin did not deny it. At that time, Song Huawu would definitely go so she would be able to see it. There was no meaning for Xiao Qin to hide it. Will you go too? I should go. Song Huawu nodded. Are you representing the Demon Gate? Xiao Qin said, but what's the use of you going? Can you stop the conflict between the two gangs? That's not possible. I'm just going to be a witness and keep things under control. Song Huawu said, in the secular world, no matter which force fights, they will be restricted by the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. After I go, I can prove that the grievances of this summit will end here. No matter which side has casualties, they can't take revenge afterwards. What's the use of that? Xiao Qin felt that Song Huawu was a little nosy. What does the grievances of these people have to do with you? At least it's useful in the secular world. In their own territory, I won't be bothered if I don't see it, said Song Huawu. Okay. Xiao Qin felt that Song Huawu was purely deceiving herself. By the way, let me remind you. Don't offend anyone when you go. That Yi Xiaoya is not a good person. Don't use you as a weapon. Song Huawu reminded, it's fine to watch the fun. If there's a fight, it's not good for you to be hated by others. Thank you for the reminder. Xiao Qin didn't think that Yi Xiaoya was a bad person. On the contrary, he felt that Yi Xiaoya's heart was still very good. At least, she could teach him the mantra and martial arts of her sect. This was very rare. Ordinary people couldn't do it. Song Huawu saw that Xiao Qin was perfunctory. She knew that she had said too much, so she stopped talking and continued to read her book. After class, Lu Zhiming came over mysteriously. He secretly took out a small box and handed it to Xiao Qin. He said, Xiao Qin, thank you so much yesterday. This is a piece of ancient jade. Please accept it. Xiao Qin was stunned. He didn't expect Lu Zhiming to be so efficient. It was much better than that Li Shanning. That guy was slow and hesitant. How could he be as straightforward as Lu Zhiming? In the future, Xiao Qin will need more help. I guess that idiot Xiao Yuliang found out that the big rose he gave turned into a small green onion yesterday. He was so angry that he said so many stupid words. It's really awesome. Lu Zhiming looked very happy. In this way, Xiao Yuliang doesn't have a big chance. Xiao Qin, you help me work hard. I have a good chance. Okay. That depends on your performance. I'm in need of ancient jade recently. Xiao Qin nodded. No problem. I'll try my best to help Xiao Qin get some. For the Lu family, ancient jade, ancient paintings, ancient books, and ancient bowls were almost the same. Anyway, they were all things of elegance. If they could give it to Xiao Qin and let Xiao Qin help them pick up girls, it would be worth it. Xiao Qin took the small box and felt it. There was indeed spiritual energy in it, but not much. However, Xiao Qin was now hungry. This was already very good, so he said, okay, then I'll take it. In the next day, nothing special happened, except that Xiao Qin received a message from Yu Xiaochuan when he went home. He didn't know whether Yu Xiaochuan's situation was temporary or would be like this in the future. What if he recovered in the future? So Xiao Qin was thinking about how to trick Yu Xiaochuan into going to the hospital for a sex change operation directly. It was better to transform directly to be safe. In this way, he didn't have to worry about him doing bad things to her. But these things couldn't be rushed. When Yu Xiaochuan asked him for help, he could trick him step by step. After decocting the medicinal materials, Xiao Qin began to cultivate with the ancient jade that Lu Zhiming gave him. Now, Xiao Qin was already a cultivator at the peak of the 5th level of the Qi refinement stage. He was only one step away from the 6th level, but this step was very difficult to cross. After cultivating for a while, Xiao Qin found that his strength was progressing very slowly, or it could even be said that there was no progress. Xiao Qin also found that if he wanted to break through, he must have a spiritual jade with a very high content of spiritual energy. If the level of the spiritual jade was not up to the standard, then he needed an opportunity to break through. For example, in the previous battle with the old witch of Shishan, Xiao Qin had entered a state of extreme. Chapter 3:12. As for now, the spiritual qi in the ancient jade was thin, and there was no opportunity for him to fight. Xiao Qin could only use it to consolidate his strength. It was impossible for him to make a breakthrough. After the herbs were decocted, Xiao Qin took the medicine and went to the courtyard. He began to practice the dark flame palm. Anyway, no matter how he practiced, he might as well use the dark flame palm instead. At present, the fifth style of the dark flame palm could be successfully practiced anytime, anywhere, but the sixth style couldn't. Xiao Qin found that out of 10 times he could only succeed 8 times, and there were still 2 times where he failed. And this was mainly because he wasn't familiar with it. After Xiao Qin's punches and kicks, the success rate had increased a lot. Of course, Xiao Qin didn't use all of his strength, but he did it with reservation. The purpose of this was to save his physical strength and true qi so he could use it a few more times. But when facing the enemy, he couldn't do the same. If he held back, the power of the martial skill wouldn't reach its peak. The fifth style might only have the power of the fourth or even the third or second style, which wouldn't cause any damage to the enemy. And after the activation, it was impossible to improve the power, unless he activated it again. After one night of practice, Xiao Qin could already activate the sixth style of the dark flame palm 100%. This was a pleasant surprise, but Xiao Qin wasn't satisfied with the sixth style of the dark flame palm at this moment. Now Xiao Qin's strength was at the peak of the 5th level of the qi refinement stage. His real strength was equivalent to a martial artist at the peak of the 6th level of the inner force stage. But it was reasonable to say that a cultivator should be stronger. So, could he activate the 7th style of the dark flame palm? But tonight, Xiao Qin didn't experiment because the exercise just now had consumed most of his physical strength and true qi. Now he had to go back to practice and restore his physical strength. The next morning, Xiao Qin was making breakfast for Cheng Menjing. To be honest, he really wasn't used to not going to the morning market every day. Life seemed to be a lot more comfortable and leisurely. Xiao Qin wasn't short of money for the time being. It seemed like he had really become the Missy's full-time male servant. After Yi Xiaoya was done with her flowers and plants, she entered the villa. She saw Xiao Qin cooking, so she walked over and said, "Hey, bring me a portion." "No problem." Xiao Qin was cooking noodles. Anyway, one more person just meant one more bowl of noodles. He didn't have any noodles yet, so he was mixing the soup. "By the way, have you cultivated the mantra that I gave you?" Yi Xiaoya asked. "Yes, but I haven't comprehended it yet," Xiao Qin said. He hadn't comprehended the 7th style, dark flame palm. "Oh, Rome wasn't built in a day. If you have any questions, you can ask me. You have missed the best cultivation age. To be honest, even if you go through body tempering now, it will be difficult for you to achieve anything in a short period of time." "Yeah, I'm not in a hurry." Xiao Qin nodded, but he smiled bitterly in his heart. "If I didn't miss it, I wouldn't have any achievements. So, I changed my mind and cultivated." When the noodles were cooked, Xiao Qin secretly filled a bowl for Yi Xiaoya. As a result, it was seen by Miss Cheng, who was yawning downstairs. "Xiao Qin." Cheng Menjing was angry. "Why did you give it to her? What's wrong with giving it to me? He is willing to give it to me. Can't he like me?" Yi Xiaoya didn't hide it. She took the noodles from Xiao Qin and looked at Cheng Menjing coldly. Cheng Menjing was so angry that she couldn't say anything because of Yi Xiaoya. After a while, she said, "She is my servant. You can't control your man, but you still complain. What kind of ability is that?" Yi Xiaoya curled her lips and said mockingly, You. Cheng Menjing was so angry that she saw stars. She was a little confused. "Just you wait. When Jean Bebe comes." "Oh, that's all you can do. If you can't beat her, ask your cousin for help." Yi Xiaoya shook her head sarcastically. She took a bite of the noodles and said, "It's so delicious. I want to eat it tomorrow." "Xiao Qin, if you still dare to make breakfast for her tomorrow, I will. Cheng Menjing suddenly couldn't think of any punishment. She wanted to ask him to deduct his salary, but on second thought, she didn't give Xiao Qin a penny at all. "What will you do? Won't you pay him?" "Sorry, I think you have never paid him." Yi Xiaoya said calmly, "You want to fire him? Great, then I will take it. Xiao Qin, from tomorrow on you will be my servant. I will not only pay you but also teach you martial arts. Do you think I'm beautiful? You still have a chance to pursue me. You are shameless." Cheng Menjing was about to explode in anger. "A shameless tree will definitely die, but a shameless man is invincible. My ultimate dream is to be invincible." "Thank you," Yi Xiaoya said indifferently. Xiao Qin, I order you not to cook for her tomorrow. Cheng Minjing couldn't win against Yi Xiaoye, so she could only start with Xiao Chen. Okay. Xiao Chen couldn't help it. He could only smile bitterly. I really don't know what to say. Some people, just because they are someone else's ex-fiancée goddess, they just order them around. One day you see that Xiao Chen doesn't like you anymore. You are nothing. Yi Xiaoye sneered. I don't believe that you will never be engaged to someone else. If you are engaged to someone else, do you think Xiao Chen will still care about you? As soon as the engagement was mentioned, Cheng Minjing was furious. Yesterday's birthday party almost became a blind date. Cheng Minjing almost became Chao Yuliang's fiancée. Thinking of this matter, Cheng Minjing felt annoyed. Now that Yi Xiaoye mentioned it, Cheng Minjing didn't refute. Instead, she was silent. That's right, why would Xiao Chen treat me so well? It's not wrong for me to take him in, but Xiao Chen can drive a luxury car and live in a house without me with the prize money he has won now. Why does he still need to be a servant here? At the very least, even if he opens a stall in the morning market, with Xiao Chen's craftsmanship, it's not a problem to earn more than 10,000 or even tens of thousands of yuan a month. He was still staying by her side, silently accommodating her. Did he like her? Not knowing why, thinking of this, Cheng Minjing's face was slightly red, and her heart was slightly happy. Do I really treat him as a servant? It seems that I don't. Except for occasionally ordering him, it seems that I really don't look down on him. This Yi Xiaoye is really too hateful, sowing dissension. What? Put out the fire? Nothing to say? After Yi Xiaoye finished eating the noodles, she took her mobile phone upstairs and played while walking. Xiao Chen. Cheng Minjing wanted to say sorry to him. She didn't mean to be arrogant in front of him, but suddenly she thought that he once pursued Xin Jingxian and teased Kerlin in front of her. It's simply unforgivable. He just saw my good side and knows that he cares about me. I can't give him a good look. Otherwise he will be too arrogant. Xiao Chen looked at Cheng Minjing's blushing face and thought that she was flushed because of anger, so he said, Minjing, don't be angry. Yi Xiaoye is actually not a bad person. This is my fault, okay? I won't make it for her tomorrow. Of course, Xiao Chen thought that it would be better to make it for Yi Xiaoye in advance tomorrow. Anyway, she woke up early. She wouldn't be caught by Miss again. Anyway, Miss was concerned about her face. It would be fine to let her face go. In fact, for a long time, Xiao Chen was so accommodating to Cheng Minjing because he felt that he owed her in the past. She was his fiancée, but he went to pursue her best friend. How bad of a fiancé was he to do such a thing? It was one thing to do it in secret, but she did it in front of him. Cheng Minjing had already given him a lot of face by not going berserk and kicking him. Therefore, after interacting with the eldest miss for a long time and thinking through these things, Xiao Chen usually gave in to the eldest Mississippi. It's nothing. Then you let her buy groceries. You can make one for her. Cheng Minjing wanted to apologize to Xiao Chen, but she didn't expect Xiao Chen to apologize first. This made Miss' heart soften. She was not a bad person. She was a very kind person. At this time she couldn't insist anymore. She can't eat for free, right? If she wants to eat, she will join us. Okay, then I will talk to her. Xiao Chen nodded. Eat the noodles. It will be cold in a while. And? Cheng Minjing nodded and ate the noodles. After a while she looked up at Xiao Chen. Hey, do you not want me to marry Chao Yuliang? And? Xiao Chen was slightly stunned and looked at Miss inexplicably. Bebe told me that Chao Yuliang was disguised by you with magic yesterday. At that time I was too happy. Later I thought about it carefully. It doesn't seem right. If it was you, it would make sense. Cheng Minjing said, but you are bad. You even destroyed Meng Chang's marriage. So you know. Yeah, didn't you ask me to destroy it? I won't be shocked if I don't say it like this, said Xiao Chen. It's obvious that you don't like Meng Chang and don't want your sister to marry him, said Cheng Minjing. Ah, you saw through me. Xiao Chen didn't deny it and said with a smile. Of course. I'm such a genius and have sharp eyes. How can I not see through it? Said Cheng Minjing proudly. After finishing the noodles, Xiao Chen drove Cheng Minjing to school. Just as they were about to get into the car, the young mistress suddenly thought of the liquid Bei mentioned yesterday. She lowered her head to take a look, and indeed, she saw something. The young miss had grown up and was no longer a little girl. She could clearly distinguish the traces that looked like dried mucus. She immediately felt a little uncomfortable and guessed whose it was. Could it be Bibi's own? A thief calling a thief. This girl would probably do it too. What are you doing? Why don't you get in the car? Just when Xiao Chen asked, he suddenly thought of what Jean Bebe said yesterday. So he said, I will wash the car seat later. Cheng Minjing looked even more carefully. It seemed to be done only a few days ago. That's not right. Chapter 313. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be Li Shanying's doing. Could it be Jean Beibei? Thinking that it was Jean Beibei who did it, Cheng Minjing didn't think there was any problem. She followed Jean Beibei's example and put a napkin on it before sitting down. Xiao Chen's mouth twitched a little. If Missy knew that it was Xin Jingshuan's doing, how would she feel? Would she kick me to death? Xiao Chen realized that he didn't seem to care about anything when he was Missy's fiancé. Now that he wasn't, he felt guilty instead. Shen Jinghao contacted Xie Huang and Xie Chen of the Xie family through Yu Xiaochuan's relationship. The place to treat them was naturally the Azure Heavenly Palace Hotel, which was one of the largest hotels in Songning City. Mr. Xie, Manager Xie, I'm Shen Jinghao from the Shen family. It's nice to meet you. Shen Jinghao saw the door of the private room was pushed open, and two people walked in. It was Xie Huang and Xie Chen who Yu Xiaochuan told him about. He quickly got up and greeted them. Mr. Shen is too polite. Xie Huang was still very polite to Shen Jinghao. After all, the reputation of the Shen family was there, so he wouldn't casually take advantage of it. You are the elder of me and Xiaochen. We will call you Uncle Shen. Well said, well said. Then I will be an uncle. Shen Jinghao didn't expect the meeting to go so smoothly. Please sit down and see what you want to eat. Uncle Shen, do as you please. Wang Xiongzhuang also said that Uncle Shen has something to talk to us about. Then just say it. We don't need to be too polite. Xie Huang waved his hand and said, All right, I will say it. Shen Jinghao waved his hand to the waiter and gestured for her to bring a table of his specialty dishes. Then after she left he said, It's like this. The Shen family needs a batch of medicinal herbs now, but the warrior market can't solve it. The Xie family is the supplier of the warrior market and also one of the top business families in the province. I wonder if you have any way to help me get a batch of medicinal herbs? The price can be negotiated. Medicinal herbs? That depends on what medicinal herbs they are. The Xie Emperor said, I won't hide it from Uncle Shen. If we can help, we will. After all, we're doing business. We'll do it the normal way. But I want to see what you need first. The list is here, please have a look. Shen Jinghao took out his list and handed it to Xie Huang. The Xie Emperor glanced at it and handed it over to Xie Chen. The reason why he brought Xie Chen along was that Xie Chen was responsible for the specific execution of the procurement of medicinal herbs, while the Xie Emperor was only responsible for general matters. Xie Chen looked at it for a while and could not help but shake his head and say, Uncle Shen, I have never heard of many of the medicinal ingredients on your list. Occasionally I have heard of them, but they are also extremely rare. They are not things that can be purchased through normal channels? Shen Jinghao could only smile bitterly. That's right. If it were ordinary herbs, I wouldn't have to go through so much trouble. Xie family, do you have any way to get them? I've said it before, price is not a problem. I can only say that we should try. If we are willing to pay any price, we should be able to get one or two of them. However, it will only be a small amount. We still won't be able to get most of them, Xie Chen said. Okay, as much as you can get. For this result, Shen Jinghao was somewhat disappointed, but he was not surprised. After all, the warriors' market also said the same thing. Now Shen Jinghao could only hope that when the time comes, many a little makes a mickle, and see if there are other ways to collect some. Well, this is not a problem. Uncle Shen, wait for our news. The Xie Emperor nodded and made a decision. Anyway, the benefits of helping the Shen family at all costs were still great for the Xie family. This kind of profit could be doubled, so why not? Next, when they were eating, the atmosphere was more pleasant. When Shen Jinghao learned that the Xie Emperor was married and had children, he suddenly felt that it was a pity. Now it seemed that the Xie family's ability was still very strong. If Shen Jingshan was not engaged to Qin Jinping, getting engaged to the Xie family was also a good choice. As for Xie Chen, it was obvious that the Xie family did not focus on training him. Shen Jinghao did not consider marrying him, although Xie Chen did not have a girlfriend yet. When Xiao Chen was at school, he received a text message from Yi Biya. How are your preparations? The Righteous and Demonic Summit is about to be held. The disciples of the famous Righteous and Demonic sects are on the way to Songning City. Some have already arrived. So soon? Xiao Chen did not expect that Yi Xiaoye just said a few days ago that the summit would begin today, so he quickly asked, Where is it? I will arrange the time in advance. The location is the martial arts school rented from the Zheng family. The time starts at 6 o'clock every night. After all, it is not something that can be done in public, so it can only be done at night. Yi Biya said. Okay, I got it. Xiao Chen was very happy. It would be great if it was at night, so he didn't have to ask for leave during the day, and the young lady could easily see the problem. But it did not matter if it was at night. He could just find a reason to go out with the young lady, such as to see Tang Tang. Is there any problem? Yi Bia confirmed. If there is no problem, I will sign you up. By the way, what level of internal strength are you at? I need to register. The peak of the 6th level. Xiao Chen said. He could not say that he was at the peak of the 5th level. The strength of a cultivator and a devil cultivator were not on the same level. What? You are already at the peak of the 6th level? Are you kidding me? Yi Xiaoya was a little confused. She had been working so hard for a while, but she just became a devil cultivator at the 5th level of internal strength. But White Fox was already at the peak of the 6th level. After all, when the two of them were partners, their strength was almost the same, wasn't it? They were both devil cultivators at the 4th level. How could White Fox suddenly be so much ahead? Whether it is a joke or not, you will know when we meet. Xiao Chen sent a smiley face. See, you are lying to me. Yi Xiaoya could not figure out how White Fox's strength improved so fast. Did he hide his strength before? No way, hiding his strength at the moment of life and death. How stupid would he be? In Songning No. 1 Middle School, Chao Yuliang and Chen Jinping had already begun to discuss how to kill Xiao Chen. The engagement with Shen Jingxian was postponed indefinitely, which made Chen Jinping even more determined to do what was done. He must push her down, he must push her down. If he did not push her down, he might miss the opportunity to be with the goddess. Chen Jinping was already a little crazy. He hated Xiao Chen for making him a cuckold. He wanted to kill Xiao Chen. Jinping, is everything arranged? Chao Yuliang lowered his voice and said to Chen Jinping, I have arranged everything here. I will wait for your orders. Xiao Chen, you go and record it first. You must record conclusive evidence. Shen Jingxian cannot wear clothes. Then tell me when you are done. I will rush over with my men and make sure that Xiao Chen dies without a burial place. Video without clothes, but if Jingxian is naked, it will not be good if Xiao Chen sees it. Won't I be at a disadvantage? Chen Jinping was not very happy. Xiao Chen is going to die soon. Why are you arguing with a dead man? In the future, when you and Shen Jingxian have sex, there might be ghosts watching you. Chao Yuliang scolded. This is true. Chen Jinping thought that Xiao Chen was going to die. What was there for a dead man? If he saw it, then so be it. Just treat it as a feast for his eyes before he died. And at that time, don't make any mistakes. Have you bought the medicine? Chao Yuliang said. I have bought it. It is imported from Neon. Gaga, it is very effective. After eating it, you have to have sex. Otherwise you will die. Even if Shen Jingxian knows that I am Xiao Chen, she will have to do it against her will. Chen Jinping said proudly. That's good. These plans must be closely linked. This time Xiao Chen must die. Chao Yuliang said, at that time the Chen family will inevitably unite with the Shen family to denounce Xiao Chen. I will find a way to unite with the Qing family to add fuel to the fire. Xiao Chen will definitely not survive at that time. If the Qing family is adding fuel to the fire, then Xiao Chen must be dead. Chen Jinping was overjoyed after hearing it. He didn't expect Chao Yuliang to be so powerful. Could it be that the Chao family and the Qing family have reached an agreement behind the scenes, and Chao Yuliang is going to propose marriage successfully? And let's go through the process again. Don't make any mistakes. The reason why Chao Yuliang mentioned the Qing family was because he knew that Qing Mingqiang would definitely help. In the evening after school, Chen Jinping asked the hacker he contacted in advance to simulate Xiao Chen's mobile phone number and sent a short message to Shen Jingxian. These would be evidence in the future. Chen Jinping's plan this time was thoughtful, and it was closely linked to each other. Jingxian, I'm looking for you tonight. I have something very important to tell you. Please be sure to come to number 18 Sailu Street. I have booked that place. You can come directly. Sailu Street was a relatively famous commercial street. There were a lot of commercial buildings here. The reason why he chose this place was that if he went to a remote place, Shen Jingxian would definitely be suspicious. But if he went to Sailu Street, she wouldn't be suspicious. On Sailu Street, there were several relatively old villas that were transformed into leisure clubs and love residences. They were rented to the public. As long as you paid the rent, it was yours. In fact, it was similar to a daily rental villa. It was just that it was used to discuss business, dating, and gathering with friends. It had more atmosphere and feeling. Number 18 Sailu Street was a villa, but it wasn't a love residence. It was a leisure club. Qin Jinping chose this place because he was afraid that Xin Jingxian would think that it was a love residence and wouldn't go there. Of course, he was also afraid that Xin Jingxian wouldn't go there, so he still prepared a backup plan. Of course, if Xin Jingxian went there, he wouldn't need to use a backup plan. On Xin Jingshuan's mobile phone, Xin Jinping also tampered with it. When Xin Jingxian replied to Xiao Chen's text message, it would be directly forwarded to Qin Jinping. As for the voice call, it would be directly blocked, indicating that the other party's line was busy or turned off. In short, it wouldn't allow her to contact Xiao Chen. Chapter 3:14. Xin Jingxian looked at the text message she received with some surprise. Xiao Chen actually asked me out? In fact, it wasn't a big deal for couples to date each other. Xin Jingxian also had friends around her who would go on dates. It was just that Xin Jingxian hadn't gone on dates yet. Of course, with Qin Jinping, at least Xin Jingxian didn't think it was a date. She didn't have any feelings of heartbeat. She didn't like Qin Jinping at all. She just reluctantly dealt with it. But now, Xiao Chen actually sent a text message to ask her out on a date. Xin Jingxian couldn't help but be a little nervous. At this moment, her heartbeat was slightly accelerated. However, on the surface she looked around calmly. When she made sure no one was paying attention to her, she was relieved. It was like a thief, which made Xin Jingxian feel a little guilty. She wanted to reply a few more words and ask why Xiao Chen asked her out, but she was afraid that the phone would be seen by others. She was also afraid that Xiao Chen's phone would be seen by Cheng Minjing. She couldn't explain it. So, after hesitating for a while, Xin Jingxian replied with a few words, "Well, I will go over when I have time. What can't you say over the phone?" This kind of reply was ambiguous, but Xin Jingxian believed that Xiao Chen would definitely be able to understand her meaning. She had agreed to his request. Towards his request, she had never rejected it, even if it was very excessive. It was just that such a reply wouldn't be a problem even if others saw it. Sure enough, while Qin Jinping was waiting anxiously, he finally received Xin Jingshuan's reply text message. He was really afraid that Xin Jingxian would refuse, but with his understanding of Xin Jingshuan's character, she was a very kind and good person. Since Xiao Chen said it so seriously, Xin Jingxian should go. Sure enough, although Xin Jingxian didn't explicitly say whether she would go or not, it should be about time. Qin Jinping quickly replied, "You will know when you go. I will wait for you there. If you don't come, I will wait for one night." Xin Jingxian saw Xiao Chen's reply, and she suddenly felt a little dumbfounded. How could I not go? However, Xin Jingxian just replied, "Okay." She didn't say anything else. Instead, she sent a text message to her father, Xin Zhenghao, telling him that she would go back late at night and that Cheng Minjing had an appointment with her. After this text message was sent, Xin Jingxian felt that she had become too bad now. She actually lied to her father and used her best friend as an excuse. However, Xin Zhenghao just happened to have an appointment with Xia Huang and Xia Chen to go to the entertainment city invested by the Xin family in the evening, so he didn't care. In the blink of an eye, it was time for school to end. Xin Jingxian stopped a car at the school gate. Qin Jinping drove a Land Rover and appeared beside Xin Jingxian. He deliberately prepared this car. His purpose was to stop at the gate of the villa and let the video at the gate of the villa record it. Then he would frame Xiao Chen. Otherwise, when Xiao Chen said that he came later, it would be a little difficult to deal with. Qin Jinping took great pains to kill Xiao Chen this time. Xin Jingxian looked at this familiar car and couldn't help but be stunned. When she saw Qin Jinping in the driver's seat, she was even more puzzled. Why did Qin Jinping drive such a car? Didn't Xiao Chen get this car from Li Shanin? Or could it be that Qin Jinping had bought an identical car? Thinking of this, Xin Jingxian couldn't help but ask, "Jinping, why are you driving this car?" Didn't I see that Xiao Chen has one? I think this car is very good, so I bought the same one," Qin Jinping said indifferently. "Right, Jingxian, where are you going? Do you want me to give you a ride?" This? Xin Jingxian suddenly felt a strange feeling. She went on a date with Xiao Chen, but she wanted her fiancé to give her a ride? Get in the car. It's school time now. It's hard to get a taxi. Where are you going? I have nothing to do anyway. Qin Jinping said as he opened the door of the front passenger seat. This. Okay, I'm going to Tsailu Street number 18, Xin Jingxian hesitated and said. She was really afraid that Qin Jinping would ask her why she was going there, but Qin Jinping didn't seem to doubt it at all. He just nodded and promised, "Okay, no problem." Xin Jingxian was relieved. After getting in the car, Qin Jinping started the car. Then he casually pressed a button on the side of the steering wheel. There was no change inside the car, but if someone looked from the outside, they would find that the Land Rover's license plate in Songning City had suddenly changed to a foreign license plate. The license plate number was exactly the same as the car Xiao Qin got from Li Shanying. The whole car was covered with a film. From the outside, it was impossible to see the situation inside the car. Qin Jinping drove all the way to Cailu Street. Soon the car stopped at the door of Cailu Street number 18. Qin Jinping said, "Jingxian, is it here? Then I'll stop at the door. You go ahead. I'm leaving." "Ah, okay, thank you, Jinping." Xin Jingxian nodded to Qin Jinping. She got out of the car with excitement and anxiety. This was a villa. Although it wasn't a love mansion, it was still full of ambiguity. Why did Xiao Qin ask her to come here? Xin Jingxian entered the villa in a daze, but she found that there was no one in the villa. There was only a rental slip on the shoe cabinet at the door. It was written that Xiao Qin rented the villa for one night. There was nothing else. Perhaps Xiao Qin hadn't come yet. Xin Jingxian was relieved and sent a text message to Xiao Qin, "You're not here. Wait for me. I'll be there soon." Qin Jinping replied, then he smiled. He took out a mask from his bag and put it on his head. This was a customized silicone face that Qiao Yuliang used his connections to make. It was made according to Xiao Qian's appearance. It couldn't be said to be exactly the same as Xiao Qin, but under the dim light at night at first glance, there really wasn't much problem. Today Qin Jinping wore the school uniform that Xiao Qin usually wore. The school uniforms of number 1 middle school and number 2 middle school were the same. At this moment he was Xiao Qin. Perhaps even Zhu Yingxiong wouldn't be able to see any flaws from a distance. After Qin Jinping finished all this, he started the car and went to a nearby adult goods store. He bought a box of emergency contraceptive pills. He was going to give it to Xin Jingxian. Although Qin Jinping didn't care that Xin Jingxian would get pregnant, the one who did it was Xiao Qin. Even if Qin Jinping was magnanimous and accepted Xin Jingxian after the incident, if he raised the illegitimate child in her belly, people who didn't know the truth would really suspect that Qin Jinping was a big idiot. Therefore, in order to put on a show, he definitely couldn't let Xin Jingxian get pregnant. Otherwise, things would be really troublesome. When the child was born and the paternity test was done, then the matter was likely to be exposed. Qin Jinping bought the medicine and got in the car again. When he returned to the car, Qiao Yuliang's phone call came in. "Brother Liang." Qin Jinping picked up the phone. "Jinping, how is it? Is everything going well?" asked Qiao Yuliang. "So far it's very smooth." Qin Jinping said, "I have already bought the medicine and I also pretended to be Xiao Qin. When I get off the car I will record it. But when Xiao Qin goes, the video will be cut off." "No problem. I have already informed the manager of the villa. When you go, the camera will be broken," Qiao Yuliang said. "Then I'm going." I'm looking forward to it." "Brother Liang, your idea is great." Qin Jinping was excited. "Qin Jinping, let me remind you. When you go to the villa, immediately do it. Don't dawdle and waste time talking nonsense," Qiao Yuliang reminded him. "What?" Qin Jinping was stunned. He really wanted to go into the villa and see Xin Jingxian. After saying some disgusting words, he wanted Xin Jingxian to hate Xiao Qin. He had already thought of his lines. He had wasted countless brain cells. Was it that useless? "What? Don't you understand? What do you mean by a long night of dreams and side issues? Haven't you seen the TV series? Before those villains do bad things, they like to say a lot of useless things. Then they will make a move at the end. As a result, when they make a move, the protagonist will counterattack." Qiao Yuliang reminded him, "Now remember, you are the protagonist. You are the winner. So, you have to make the first move. No matter what, the victory is the victory." "I understand." After Qin Jinping heard it, he suddenly broke into a cold sweat. Brother Liang is thoughtful. If it were me, I would definitely say a lot of words and stir up the atmosphere. Then there might really be a problem. And I will calculate it for you. After half an hour, I will inform Xiao Qin to go over. "Half an hour should be enough for you, right?" said Qiao Yuliang. "Half an hour. Isn't it a little short?" Qin Jinping was hesitant. It was not easy for him to have a chance to get intimate with her. It was only once in half an hour. He still wanted to have a second chance. "Is there something wrong with you? If you settle this matter, Xin Jingxian will be yours in the future. You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want." Qiao Yuliang said exasperatedly, "Hurry up. When the time comes and Xiao Qin goes, the one who's done for will be you." "Okay, I got it. Brother Liang, don't worry. I won't drop the ball," Qin Jinping said quickly. "And when the time comes, try to capture some shots of Xiao Qin and Xin Jingxian. Then make Xiao Qin faint. After doing all this, call me immediately. I will bring people to catch them in the act," said Chao Yuliang. "Yes, no problem at all," said Qin Jinping. After hanging up the phone, Qin Jinping's heart was full of fighting spirit. "Ah, Qin Jingxian, this time you are finally mine. Xiao Qin, I will see how you die this time because of your lust." On Qin Jinping's side, when he was ready to drive back, Qin Jingxian was sitting on the sofa in the villa hall. She was bored watching TV while waiting for Xiao Qin. Beside the TV, there was an incense which emitted a nice fragrance. The environment of this villa was really good. Chapter 315. However, Qin Jingxian really couldn't figure out why Xiao Qin asked her to come here. If he really wanted to kiss and hug, wouldn't it be better in the love mansion across the street? Why did he have to choose this place? Although the decoration here was also very luxurious, the atmosphere was still a bit lacking. The love mansion was more romantic. This place was more inclined to the ordinary family style. Could it be that Xiao Qin liked warmth and didn't like romance? In the TV, the male and female leads actually entered the bed scene, which made Qin Jingxian suddenly blush a little. She quickly changed the channel, but she didn't expect that the channel in the TV was all that kind of love drama, and it was inclined to the third level. This made Qin Jingxian a little embarrassed. Did Xiao Qin deliberately arrange it like this? Qin Jingxian was secretly annoyed. What is this guy thinking? She turned off the TV and felt a little hot and thirsty, so she opened the small fridge next to the sofa and took out a bottle of drink from it. She unscrewed it and drank it. This drink was very delicious and sweet. She didn't know where it was imported from. There were foreign words on it. Qin Jingxian couldn't understand it, but she didn't guard against it. After all, it was Xiao Qin who asked her to come here. It was impossible for him to poison the drink. However, after drinking this drink, Qin Jingxian felt that the heat in her body didn't decrease, but increased. Not only that, she felt that there was something wrong with her body. This was a very strange feeling. It seemed that she suddenly had some expectations for Xiao Qin to come quickly and hold her in his arms. What's going on? I seem to be getting hotter and hotter. It shouldn't be. Qin Jingxian looked up at the temperature on the calendar in the living room. It was 26 degrees. There should be automatic air conditioning in the villa. How could this temperature still be so hot? Speaking of which, Qin Jinping reckoned that Qin Jingxian should have been drugged. He used multiple methods at the same time. Third-rate movies, incense, and imported drinks, all of which would make Qin Jingxian burn with desire. He, Qin Jinping laughed wretchedly. He parked the car at the entrance of Tsailu Street number 18. He had chosen a good place. Although Tsaixia Road was a century-old street, the side of Tsaixia Road was filled with love residences, business leisure clubs, and villas. Therefore, there were almost no people at night and no one would pay attention to the situation here. During the day there were still some business people who came here to negotiate, but at night, it was a paradise for couples. Couples who came here had already entered the villa. Who would pay attention to the situation in the other villas? Qin Jinping parked the car. Just as he was about to pull out the key and get out of the car, he suddenly felt that the front passenger seat door of the car was pulled open. Then with a whoosh, a person suddenly got in. Who are you? What do you want? Qin Jinping was startled. Of course, he was only startled, but he wasn't afraid. After all, he was a martial artist at the peak of stage 2 internal strength. He didn't care about robbery at all. Li Shaning came to participate in the Songning summit. After he arrived, he did not report directly. Instead, he looked for Xiao Qin all over the world. In order not to leave behind any evidence, he did not contact Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinping. Finally, when he was walking at night, he accidentally saw the Land Rover that Xiao Qin had taken away. He was immediately furious. After that, he saw the car stop at the entrance of an adult goods store. Xiao Qin got out of the car to buy things. Li Shaning was suddenly overjoyed. This was simply wearing out iron shoes in fruitless search, only to find it by chance. He was looking for Xiao Qin and Xiao Qin came to his door. It was like hitting a pillow when he was sleepy. However, there were more people in the pharmacy. Although Li Shaning was not afraid of anything, he was afraid that someone would see him killing Xiao Qin. So, he followed and came to the villa area on Tsailu Street. There was no one on the road here, so Li Shaning acted and directly got into Qin Jinping's car. As for whether there were cameras nearby, Li Shaning did not consider it. He was not an assassin. He only considered that no one would see him. He did not care about other factors. The person who killed you, Li Shaning said coldly. Huh? Li Shaning? When Qin Jinping saw the appearance of the person, he was suddenly stunned. He did not expect to meet Li Shaning here. Didn't he return to Binjing province? Why is he back? Moreover, he said that he wanted to kill me? Could it be a mistake? Isn't he on the same side as me? Why does he want to kill me? Hey, it's me. You didn't expect it, right? Li Shanning looked at Xiao Chen with a cold expression. This time he didn't want to waste any more words with him. He said directly, "That's right, I'm here to kill you. I've always wanted to kill you. I didn't expect you to recognize me and even call out my name. However, no matter how much you know, you are dead today." As he said that, Li Shanning suddenly made a move. He was like an eagle reaching out to grab Qin Jinping's throat at an extremely fast speed. The strength of the peak of stage 6 martial artist was fully revealed. Qin Jinping was puzzled. Is there something wrong with this Li Shanning? Why did he say such strange words after getting in the car? But he was not nervous. Li Shanning was a person without strength. He was a martial artist at the peak of stage 2. Why should he be afraid of him? But in the next moment, Qin Jinping found that he was wrong. It was a big mistake. He was ridiculously wrong. Li Shanning was not an ordinary person at all. He was a martial artist with a terrifyingly high level of inner force. I'm not Xiao Qin. In front of Li Shanning, Qin Jinping, a martial artist at the peak of stage 2, was nothing. These were the last words he said before he died. The huge difference in strength made Qin Jinping die with everlasting regret. He did not have time to explain because the moment before he died, he understood that the reason why Li Shanning targeted him was because he was now in the appearance of Xiao Qin, and not the Qin Jinping he knew. But what was the use of understanding? He died before he could explain. His death was too unjust. You're not Xiao Qin? How can you say such a funny thing? Li Shanning crushed Qin Jinping's throat, but suddenly found that there seemed to be a layer of silica gel on Li Shanning's throat. What is this? Li Shanning was slightly stunned. He raised his hand to touch the silica gel and was suddenly shocked. He stretched his head and carefully looked at Xiao Chen's face. His heart was suddenly shocked. Li Shanning's expression was a little stiff at the moment. It was obvious that there was something on his face. He took a deep breath and carefully tore off the layer on Xiao Chen's face. When he saw the face under the layer, Li Shanning was a little dizzy. Qin Jinping? How could it be Qin Jinping? Wasn't it Xiao Qin? *CK. Li Shanning smashed the mask on Qin Jinping's face on the windshield and scolded, "Are you crazy? Why are you pretending to be Xiao Qin? Are you addicted?" Li Shanning didn't understand. Qin Jinping went to an adult goods store before. He should have gone to buy adult goods. But after buying adult goods, this guy still pretended to be Xiao Qin. What was he doing here? Was this guy a pervert? He had to pretend to be someone else when he was having sex? However, Li Shanning didn't want to think about the specific situation. He had killed the wrong person, especially the son of the Songning Warrior Guild's vice president. What the hell was this? If this matter was discovered, there would definitely be a strict investigation. How could he have the chance to assassinate Xiao Qin? This was simply a scam. Was a scam. Li Shanning didn't dare to stay for a long time. While no one was nearby, he quickly slipped out of the car and quickly left the scene. He was going to find a hotel to stay in first and hide for 2 days. After Feng Xing passed, he would sign up for the summit. Zhao Yuliang was counting the time. It was almost time, so he sent a short message to Xiao Qin. Of course, he also used hacking skills to simulate Qing Minjing's mobile phone number. "Xiao Qin, I have something important to tell you. Come to the villa at 18 Silu Street immediately. See you there." Xiao Qin received a text message from Goddess Shen, which made him feel a little strange. Shen Jingxian actually took the initiative to ask him out. And to the villa on Silu Street? What was going on? Could it be that Goddess Shen was aroused by him that day and wanted to find a place to do it again? Then I will go immediately. In any case, this text message was sent by Shen Jingshuan's mobile phone number. Xiao Qin had to go. Even if there was a little doubt with Xiao Chen's current strength, he didn't have to be afraid of anyone. It was equivalent to a martial artist at the peak of the 6th stage of inner force. What level was this? Even the second-generation members of many aristocratic families in Songning didn't have this strength. And now Xiao Qin could actually stand up and return to the Xiao family. However, Xiao Qin was still considering it. First, he was a little reluctant to be separated from Miss Tang. This time, when he returned to the Xiao family, he was afraid that he would be cut off from Miss Tang. It was hard to say whether he would have the opportunity to contact her in the future, unless the Qing family wanted to renew the engagement. However, in this case there was no hope for Xiao Qin, Tang Tang and Xin Jingxian. Every move of the children of the aristocratic families was closely watched. Xiao Qin had a foot in 3 boats which would harm the Xiao family. With the current strength of the Xiao family, it was impossible for them to allow Xiao Qin to do so. Therefore Xiao Qin was not as happy as a useless young master. Now he represented himself in everything he did. What about the Tang family? If they were not happy, they would trample them to death with the identity of White Fox. It was the same for the Xin family and the Qing family. If he returned to the Xiao family, Xiao Qin would be restrained. He had to take into account the Xiao family behind him. Secondly, he faintly felt that there was someone behind Chao Yuliang, so he planned to continue to follow the clues to find out who was behind Chao Yuliang. His father's disappearance was too confusing. Xiao Qin must find out the truth. I'll wait for you. I think. Forget it, I'll come back to you. When Chao Yuliang saw that Xiao Qin was hooked, at once, he was overjoyed and deliberately sent a text message ambiguously. Chapter 316. This time Xiao Qin will definitely be fooled, right? Chao Yuliang laughed. Xiao Qin, tonight will be your death anniversary. Young Master Qing will definitely be satisfied. When he was about to reach Cailu Street, Xiao Qin called Xin Jingxian again, but her phone was still turned off. This made Xiao Qin's heart tighter and tighter. After hesitating for a while, Xiao Qin sent a text message, Jingxian, I'm going over. Why didn't you turn on your phone? However, to Xiao Qin's surprise, Xin Jingxian replied quickly this time, the signal here isn't very good. Come quickly, I'll wait for you. This message was, of course, returned by Chao Yuliang. He still didn't know that his teammate, Chen Jinping, was already dead. He was thinking proudly that Xiao Qin would be dead tonight, and that young Master Qing would praise him and fulfill his promise. He would make himself the master of the Chao family, and make the Chao family the #1 aristocratic family in Songning City. Because at that time, the Qing family would have long become one of the ancient martial arts aristocratic families in the province. Just like the existence of the Xin family. Of course, even if the Qing family couldn't be promoted immediately, the Chao family could also become the second aristocratic family in Songning City. At that time, with the support of the Qing family, the Chao family's limelight would be unrivaled. When he saw another message from Xiao Qin, he was slightly startled. However, he still replied without batting an eyelid. In his opinion, Xiao Qin would definitely rush over. That was the goddess invitation. In Chao Yuliang's opinion, if Qing Minjing sent such a text message, he would definitely be fooled. They wouldn't think too much about it and would eagerly run over to it. And Xiao Qin was probably the same, because Chao Yuliang felt that this guy's intelligence was not as good as his. Xiao Qin looked at the phone and saw Xin Jingshuan's reply. At this moment he already suspected that there was something wrong, but it might really be from Xin Jingxian. After all, the reason of bad signal was also reasonable. Thinking of this, Xiao Qin replied, Okay, I'll be right there. Then he sped up. When Chao Yuliang saw Xiao Qin's reply, he immediately heaved a sigh of relief. He chuckled and thought to himself, this guy is really as I imagined, an idiot. Qin Jinping should be done with his business, right? At that time, it would all depend on Qin Jinping. Xiao Qin quickly drove to the door of Kai Road Street 18, but what surprised Xiao Qin was that there was a Land Rover that looked exactly like his parked in front of Kai Road Street 18. Whose car is this? What the hell is going on? Xiao Qin didn't park his car side by side. Instead, he turned around and parked the car behind the villa. After all, there were two identical cars with the same license plate number. Wasn't he waiting to be surrounded by people? After getting out of the car, Xiao Qin went straight into the villa from the back door. As a result, as soon as he entered the villa, he heard a very strange sound. It was Xin Jingshuan's voice. But why did this voice remind Xiao Qin of the short movies on the computer? Xiao Qin couldn't help but speed up his pace and walk to the source of the sound. Xin Jingxian felt that her body was so hot. Although it was very hot before, it wasn't this hot. Is it because of the TV just now? Xin Jingxian tried hard to control her thoughts because she couldn't help but think of Xiao Qin. She thought of the artificial respiration in the sea, the hug in the closet, and the passionate kiss in the car. These ambiguous scenes filled Xin Jingshuan's mind, flashing back and forth. Not only did it make her breathing rapid, but her body was also terrifyingly hot. Xin Jingxian wanted to force herself to calm down. She lowered the temperature of the air conditioner again to 24 degrees, and the wind volume was at its maximum. The wind from the air conditioner rushed over. If it were in the past, she would have been shivering from the cold. She was a girl who was a little afraid of the cold. But today what made Xin Jingxian feel strange was that she didn't feel cold at all. Instead, her body was getting hotter and hotter. Her mind was a mess of those scenes with Xiao Qin. Gradually, a strange feeling occupied Xin Jingshuan's whole body. She lay on the sofa, twisting her body back and forth, and there was a slight moan in her mouth. She really wanted Xiao Chen to come over and hug her. Xiao Chen came to the hall and saw Xin Jingxian on the sofa. He couldn't help but be slightly surprised. What's wrong with Xin Jingxian? Why does she look so uncomfortable? Xiao Chen quickly walked over, leaned down and asked anxiously, Jingxian, I'm here. What are you looking for me for? What's wrong with you? Xiao Chen? Xin Jingxian opened her somewhat blurred eyes and looked at Xiao Chen with a charming look. Hug me. Xiao Chen was slightly stunned. He didn't expect his goddess to be so anxious. What kind of joke is this? But now it seemed that although there should be something strange, Xin Jingxian wasn't in any danger. At this moment Xiao Chen also released his soul sense. In this villa, there was no one else except him and Xin Jingxian. Could it be that Xin Jingxian really missed me today and asked me to come here for a date? Xiao Chen, hurry up. Hug me. Xin Jingxian was a little anxious. She missed Xiao Chen a lot before. At this time Xiao Chen was already here, but he was still dawdling. Who knew what he was thinking? Xin Jingxian was really angry and embarrassed. Usually you are so proactive. Today I finally take the initiative, but you still don't respond? She wanted to be angry and ignore Xiao Chen, but her body's reaction made her involuntarily stretch out her arms to ask for a hug. Xiao Chen no longer hesitated. He quickly reached out his hands, picked up Xin Jingxian and put her in his arms. As soon as he touched Xin Jingshuan's body, she trembled slightly, and then her whole body was like an octopus, tightly hugging Xiao Chen's body. Kiss me. Xin Jingxian was hugged by Xiao Chen, but she was not satisfied with the status quo. However, her words basically didn't go through her thoughts. It was just that the person in front of her was Xiao Chen, so she didn't have any guard at all. If it were Qin Jinping, Xin Jingxian would definitely think about why she became like this, but the person in front of her was Xiao Chen. She couldn't wait to be happy. How could she have the mood to think about why she was so emotional today? In the face of Xin Jingshuan's embrace, Xiao Chen didn't refuse. Xin Jingxian had promised to be his girlfriend, so why would he refuse? Xin Jingshuan's lips were sealed by Xiao Chen, but it seemed that she was still not satisfied with the status quo. She simply sat on Xiao Chen's body, and then she reached out and began to pull the skirt under her body. However, at this moment Xiao Chen felt that something was wrong. Although Goddess Xin always kissed and hugged him half-heartedly, it was limited to that. Today she was straddling him and it seemed like she was going to tear his skirt. This was something that had never happened before. If Yi Xiaoya could do such a thing, Xiao Chen would still believe it, but Goddess Xin didn't seem like such a bold girl. Jingxian, what's wrong with you? Xiao Chen used a little force and pushed Xin Jingxian away. He wanted to ask what was going on. However, when Xin Jingxian separated from Xiao Chen, her eyes were suddenly filled with resentment. With Xiao Chen's arrival, Xin Jingshuan's heat had just been relieved. However, when Xiao Chen pushed her away, the heat in her body became more violent. The blurred desire in her heart began to surge. She immediately approached him and took the initiative to peck at Xiao Chen's chin and neck, as if they were a clear spring to relieve the heat. Xiao Chen's uncooperative behavior made Xin Jingxian twist her body in dissatisfaction. She raised her head and looked at Xiao Chen with her big watery eyes full of intoxication. Xiao Chen, you don't like me, right? You like Tang Tang, Jin Beibei and Cheng Menjing, but you don't like me, right? In fact, Xin Jingxian didn't know what she was talking about. These were some thoughts in her heart and she naturally said them at this moment. How is it possible? Xiao Chen couldn't help but smile bitterly. Goddesses could also be jealous. You know that I've been pursuing you for 3 years. Then, you want me? Xin Jingxian bit her lips and exhaled. She didn't know why she said these words. She didn't want to say it, but the desire that came from the depths of her soul was getting stronger and stronger. She couldn't extricate herself from it. She didn't want to think about anything else right now. All she wanted was to be intimate with the person she loved deeply. Xin Jingshuan's words made Xiao Chen's calm mind go blank at once. At this moment, only Xin Jingxian was left in his eyes, as if everything around him was no longer important. The gap between their identities and the fact that he couldn't expose his identity had become a fleeting cloud at this moment. In the face of Goddess Shen's request, the only thought in Xiao Chen's mind was to agree. Xiao Chen, there seems to be something wrong with your goddess. Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice suddenly rang in Xiao Chen's ears. What's wrong? Xiao Chen was slightly stunned. Your goddess seems to have been drugged. Elder Heaven Ancestor reminded him, haven't you noticed that she's not normal? Xiao Chen was shocked by Elder Heaven Ancestor's reminder. Yes, Xin Jingxian was indeed not normal today. He had thought of it before, but later Shen Jingshuan's appearance made Xiao Chen have no time to think about other things. Drugged? You mean? Xiao Chen carefully sniffed the smell in the house, and then his eyes drifted to a piece of incense. This incense was on, and it emitted a very pleasant smell. Xiao Chen didn't notice it before, but now he saw the incense and remembered the car that was the same as his at the door. Is there really a problem here? However, what Xiao Chen couldn't figure out was whether this incense was placed by Shen Jingxian or by someone else. Did Shen Jingxian want to have a romantic date with me, or did someone plot to frame me and Shen Jingxian? Chapter 317. However, is there any meaning to this kind of framing? What good is it for them to make me do something to Shen Jingxian? What harm is there to me? Xiao Chen couldn't figure out the crux of it all at once. At present, Xiao Chen's only enemies were Chao Yuliang, Qin Jinping, and Li Shanning. It was likely that they were the ones who did this. However, Shen Jingxian was Qin Jinping's fiancé. No matter how stupid he was, he wouldn't do such a thing to make himself a cuckold, right? Not bad, it seems that you are not stupid. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Not only is there a problem with the incense, but Goddess Shen herself should also have a problem. There is more than one drug in her body. There should be other drugs. Through your contact with her, I found some. In other words, it is possible that someone is trying to harm me. What should I do? Xiao Chen took a deep breath and asked. Your vitality is omnipotent. You should be able to detoxify it. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Just like Kerlin's situation last time. Oh, but why should I detoxify it? Xiao Chen's eyes flashed a touch of evil. Under the effect of the incense, there was a touch of manic hostility in his body. It was just like when he killed Qin Jingkuan and beat up Qi Zhigao. However, this hostility today Xiao Chen didn't want to kill, but you don't detoxify it? Elder Heaven Ancestor listened to Xiao Chen's words and was stunned. If you don't detoxify it, what about her? She's my girlfriend. Why should I detoxify her? Every time she wants to have sex with me in the future, do I have to solve it with luck? Am I King crazy? Xiao Chen said in a somewhat demonic manner. Xiao Chen, this may be a trap. Elder Heaven Ancestor reminded him. Elder Heaven Ancestor, you are so troublesome. Now you should rest for a while. Xiao Chen reached down to Shen Jingshuan's waist and touched a button. It was the buckle at the back of her dress. He didn't even think about it and reached out to tear it. Ah! Goddess Shen, who was no longer bound by her dress, was like a happy little fish that had escaped from the net. With a casual tug, she tore off her dress, revealing her snow-white shoulders and the pair of slender, jade-like legs that made one's imagination run wild. Xiao Chen's throat moved slightly, and a heat flowed from his dantian to his whole body. Although Xiao Chen knew that Elder Sky was right, he still couldn't keep his cool when faced with the goddess he had been secretly in love with for 3 years. He could face Kerlin calmly because he didn't have a deep relationship with Kerlin. He just wanted to protect her. But Shen Jingxian was different. Her initiative broke Xiao Chen's last trace of reason and made the two entangled together. No matter what happened to the powerful Shen family, no matter how he would deal with it afterward, Xiao Chen didn't care anymore. Chao Yuliang didn't know what happened in Villa number 18. Of course, this didn't affect his fantasies. He imagined that Xiao Chen had been secretly photographed by Qin Jinping, and he imagined that Xiao Chen would be defeated in a while. However, as Chao Yuliang was fantasizing, the phone rang. He thought that Qin Jinping had settled it, but to his surprise the caller was Li Shanning. Second young Master Li, what's the matter? Chao Yuliang didn't have anything to do at the moment, so he picked up the phone. Oh, actually, it's nothing. I'm going to Songning City to do something in a few days. Have you thought of a way to deal with Xiao Chen? If not, let's discuss it together after I'm there. The reason why Li Shanning made this call was to create an alibi for himself. Killing Xiao Chen wasn't a big deal, but killing Qin Jinping would be a big deal. Although the Chen family wasn't as good as the Li family, he casually caused trouble in Songning City and killed the son of the vice president of the Warrior Guild. Even if someone in the Li family was the vice president of the Warrior Guild, this matter couldn't be suppressed. Therefore, he made this call now to tell Chao Yuliang that he was still in Songning province and hadn't left yet. Oh, I see. There's nothing we can do here. When second young Master Li comes over, let's discuss it in detail. Chao Yuliang didn't tell Li Shanning his plan. After all, he didn't want this plan to be exposed. If people knew that he and Qin Jinping had set up the Shen family and the Xiao family, he would be in serious trouble. Now that Li Shanning was no longer a partner, Chao Yuliang didn't tell him such a top-secret matter. He just brushed it off. If Xiao Chen was killed, it wouldn't have much to do with him. Okay, I'll call you when I arrive in Songning City. Li Shanning hung up the phone with satisfaction. He didn't necessarily want to cooperate with Chao Yuliang again. He just wanted to show his attitude. Chao Yuliang hung up the phone with satisfaction. At that time, Li Shanning would definitely think that this matter had nothing to do with him. As for Li Shanning, he found a hotel to stay in first. He planned to rest for a few days and wait for things to calm down before appearing again. Shen Jingxian was lying in Xiao Chen's arms in a daze. The soft sofa became their first battlefield. Shen Jingxian couldn't believe the previous craziness. There was still a blush on her face and there was a touch of coquettish satisfaction at the corner of her mouth. As for Xiao Chen, he had also recovered his previous calmness. Looking at the breathtakingly beautiful goddess Shen in his arms, Xiao Chen didn't know how to talk to her. Shen Jingxian quietly recalled the previous things, and her rationality gradually returned to her. From the previous TV to the strange incense, and the bottle of drink that made Shen Jingxian suspicious, all of this in her recollection now. Was it a meticulous trap set by Xiao Chen? Because here it was Xiao Chen who asked her to come and Xiao Chen appeared as promised. This made it difficult for Shen Jingxian to think that there was a trap within a trap. Even if she wasn't stupid, it was impossible to think that this was all arranged by Chen Jinpeng. In her opinion, it was Xiao Chen who wanted to get her, so he asked her to come here. Although it couldn't be said that he used force, under the effect of the knockout drug, he made her have sex with him in a daze. Indeed, she took the initiative more, but that was also because of the knockout drug. If there was no knockout drug, how could Shen Jingxian be like this? At this moment, Shen Jingxian looked at Xiao Chen's eyes, and there was no love in the past. It's true that I like him, but shouldn't this kind of thing be voluntary? What's the matter with you using knockout drug? Don't you know how to tell me? Moreover, Shen Jingxian didn't think that the relationship between her and Xiao Chen had developed to the step of intimacy. How long have they known each other? Isn't this a gradual process? Now Xiao Chen directly omitted the process of their love, and took the last step. How could Shen Jingxuan's heart accept it? It's true that I like you, but if you do this, you will hurt my heart. A goddess also has self-esteem. Moreover, she has said that now is not the time. Her current identity is Chen Jinpeng's fiancé. If she does it with Xiao Chen now, what should I do? Before the engagement ceremony of a big family, both sides will arrange a physical examination. When I am found out that it's not the first time, how can I deal with it? Xiao Chen isn't loving me but spoiling me. Therefore Shen Jingxian is really disappointed now. She thought that Xiao Chen loved her and respected her, but now she found out that she was wrong. Xiao Chen is like others. He likes her appearance and he likes her body. Obviously, I have promised him to be his girlfriend, but he is still so anxious to use such a dirty trick. Shen Jingxuan's affection for Xiao Chen directly fell to the negative value. I am not a half-hearted person. Sooner or later I will give it to him. Why is he so anxious? Jingxian. Xiao Chen saw that Shen Jingxian didn't speak, lying quietly in his arms. He couldn't understand the goddess's mind, so he had no choice but to speak first. Xiao Chen, you go. I want to be alone. Shen Jingxuan's tone is a little cold. It is no wonder that Shen Jingxian misunderstood. If it were anyone else they would misunderstand. Li Shanning messed up the plan. It was originally Chen Jinpeng's scene, but Xiao Chen broke it. Xiao Chen is slightly surprised. What does Shen Jingxian mean? Be alone? He subconsciously hugged Shen Jingxian tightly. Jingxian, I said that I will walk into the door of the Shen family with dignity. Xiao Chen, I said let me be alone for a while. Shen Jingxian flared up without any warning. Goddess Shen, who had always been good-tempered and had never lost her temper, flared up. She struggled out of Xiao Chen's embrace. Jingxian, calm down. Xiao Chen was going to ask Shen Jingxian what is going on today. He didn't expect Shen Jingxian to suddenly go berserk. Go. I asked you to go. Didn't you hear me? Shen Jingxian glared at Xiao Chen. If you don't want to see me in the future, continue to stay here. Xiao Chen saw that Shen Jingxian is really angry. He smiled helplessly inside. He quickly put on his clothes and left the villa under Shen Jingxuan's cold gaze. However, Xiao Chen didn't leave. He already suspected that something is wrong, so he was worried about Shen Jingxian staying here alone. He got in the car and pretended to leave. In fact, he parked the car in a parking lot far away. Then he put on the white fox mask and walked back on foot. He sat on an inconspicuous bench under the shade of a tree and quietly stared at the door of the villa. At this moment, the sky is already dark. Xiao Chen is sitting here. If outsiders don't shine the light carefully, no one will find traces of Xiao Chen. After all, martial artists are not cultivators. They don't have a strong soul, divine sense and mental strength. Chapter 318. After calming down, Xiaoqin began to carefully recall what happened today. To be honest, today had fulfilled one of Xiaoqian's biggest wishes for the past 3 years, which was to push down goddess Shen. Once upon a time, this was just a dream that could only be realized in his dreams. There was even one time when he secretly took Shen Jingshuan's photo and beat her up in a 5-on-1 fight in the room. In the past, the useless Xiaoqin, although he was the young master of the Xiao family, in fact he was not much better than most of the losers. He was just fantasizing about it. He had never considered that one day he would be able to realize his dream. However, when this dream came true, Xiaoqian's heart was indescribably depressed. Especially Shen Jingshuan's displeasure and indifference after the matter, it made Xiaoqian's heart sink to the bottom. The happiness from before was also thrown to the back of his mind. Why did he get it? And it was Shen Jingshan who took the initiative, but in the end both of them were unhappy. What went wrong? Xiaoqin asked himself that he did not force Shen Jingshan to do anything. All of this was considered pushing the boat along with the current. Speaking of which, Shen Jingshan took the initiative, but why did Shen Jingshan have such an expression after the matter? Or was there something hidden in it? Or was it that Shen Jingshan was going to be engaged to Chen Jinpeng, so before the engagement she gave her to him and then broke up with him? Of course, these were all Xiaoqian's guesses. Now that Shen Jingshuan's state was not very stable, Xiaoqin knew that whatever he said to her was useless, and she would not listen to him now. Everything had to wait until he figured out the situation. Shen Jingshan looked at Xiaoqian's back view as he left. Her eyes were a little complicated. At this moment she suddenly felt a little reluctant. Yes, she still liked Xiaoqin. Even if Xiaoqin used dishonorable means to get her, she still liked Xiaoqin. However, liking him did not mean that she could forgive him. At the very least, she was somewhat disappointed in Shen Jingshan and Xiaoqin. She didn't understand why Xiaoqin had to take this extreme path. Looking at the torn dress on the ground, Shen Jingshan suddenly felt a kind of depression, not knowing how to leave. Now that Xiaoqin had left, what should she do? Now who could he look for? It seemed that apart from Xiaoqin, the person closest to her was Cheng Menjing. But could he ask Cheng Menjing for help? If Cheng Menjing came, wouldn't the relationship between the two of them be broken? Shen Jingshan had a headache. The madness from before made her very tired. Her whole body exuded a strange sense of beauty. This perfect body that many people yearned for day and night had become Xiaoqian's. But now what should Shen Jingshan do? She couldn't go out naked, could she? She took down the curtain on the sofa and covered her body, but she couldn't go out like this. She was hesitating whether to call Xiaoqian and ask him to come back. At least he should send her a piece of clothing. However, before she could make the call, she heard the sound of a car coming from the door of the villa. Could it be that Xiaoqian found his conscience and came back? At least you have a little sense of responsibility. Shen Jinghao was drinking with Xie Huang and Xie Chen in the nightclub. Suddenly he received a text message. He opened it and saw that it was actually from Shen Jingshan. Dad, save me. I am at number 18 Silu Street. Someone wants to harm me? Shen Jinghao was shocked when he saw the text message. Someone wants to harm my daughter? How could he still eat and drink? He quickly said to Xie Huang and Xie Chen, sorry you too. My daughter sent me a message. Someone wants to harm her. I have to rush over as soon as possible. Xie Huang was slightly stunned and then said, well, business is more important. Why don't we go with you? We are still very familiar with the territory of the province. If it involves the secular world, we can come forward and settle it. Okay. Shen Jinghao nodded. At present, he didn't know what kind of forces were against Shen Jingshan. If it was the forces of the martial artists, then he should be able to settle it. If it was the forces of the secular world, then it would be difficult to settle it with the martial artists unless he had absolute power. However, if the Xie family came forward, it would save a lot of trouble, so Shen Jinghao didn't refuse. The three quickly went to number 18 Silu Street. Jingshan, how are you? Shen Jinghao strode into the villa, but the scene in front of him shocked him. He saw Shen Jingshan sitting on the sofa, wrapped in a sofa curtain, and on the ground was her torn dress. On the other side of the sofa, there were bloodstains mixed with some kind of liquid. This kind of mixture, how could Shen Jinghao not know what it was? His brain suddenly buzzed. Who did this? Shen Jingshan was harmed by someone. How could he explain it to the Qin family? In fact, women from aristocratic families were very concerned about these things. They were absolutely not allowed to lose their virginity before getting married. Otherwise, after marrying, they would not be valued by the other family. Xin Jingxian didn't expect the sound of the car at the door to be her father, which made her a little surprised. How did Dad know how to find this place? I didn't say anything. Could it be that Xiaoqin said it? But is Xiaoqin stupid? In Xin Jingshuan's view, Xiaoqin shouldn't be able to do such a thing. Then who asked her father to come? Xia Huang and Xia Qin, who followed in, were also stunned. How could they not know what happened in this situation? Xia Huang took a look at Xin Jingxian and no longer looked at her, but Xia Qin's eyes couldn't move away. The Xia family was not a small family. It was even more popular than the ordinary aristocratic families. Xia Qin also saw a lot of women, but it was the first time he saw a woman as beautiful as Xin Jingxian. With just one look, Xia Qin couldn't move his eyes away. Although Xin Jingshuan's body had been covered by the sofa curtain, the exposed white arms still made Xia Qin a little crazy. Xin Jingshuan's face still had a blush after passion. Her eyebrows were picturesque like a sculpture. With a little charming big eyes and a delicate mouth, she perfectly outlined the image of a fairy on earth. Xin Jingxian wasn't called the goddess of the masses for nothing. She had this proud capital, especially now that Xin Jingxian was even more crazy. Even though he knew that the woman in front of him had just been raped, Xia Qin still couldn't extricate himself. His breathing was a little rushed and he just stared at Xin Jingxian. Xin Jingxian was a little uncomfortable being stared at by a stranger. At this moment she couldn't wait to avoid people. It made her a little annoyed that someone was looking at her so insensibly. Dad, you guys go out first. Xin Jingshuan's voice was a little empty, and people couldn't figure out her real thoughts at the moment. Jingxian, who did it? Tell Dad, and Dad will bring him over and tear him into pieces. Xin Jinghao said while gritting his teeth. Xin Jingxian shook her head and didn't say anything. Could it be that Xiaoqin did it? Wouldn't that be harming Xiaoqin? Although she also hated Xiaoqin at the moment, this was only between her and Xiaoqin. She didn't want to get involved like others because it would only make things worse. Xin Jinghao thought that Xin Jingxian was in a bad mood, so he nodded and decided to leave first. He wanted to let Xin Jingxian calm down. After all, Xin Jingshuan's clothes were torn. It was fine if it was just him, but there were other people around. How could Xin Jingxian say anything? Xia Huang was also ready to go out with Xin Jinghao, but when he turned his head, he saw his cousin Xia Qin staring at Xin Jingxian without blinking. He suddenly felt a little awkward and he coughed twice to remind Xia Qin. Then he reached out and pulled him back to reality. Xia Qin was actually a little embarrassed and he quickly followed his brother out of the villa. I'm sorry to let you two see this. I didn't expect such a thing to happen. Xin Jinghao's first thought was to block the news, but Xia Huang and Xia Qin weren't ordinary people. He couldn't do anything to them. What's there to see? Anyone who encounters such a thing will feel bad. Uncle Shen, don't be too sad. The most important thing is to figure out the truth of the matter and find the real culprit. But don't worry, we won't go out and talk about it. Xia Huang knew that this was a serious matter, and this kind of thing shouldn't be publicized. They didn't have a grudge against the Shen family, so how could they go out and talk about it? That's good. Sorry to trouble you too. Xin Jinghao sighed secretly. He didn't look carefully at the door of the villa because he was in a hurry, but now when Xin Jinghao went out, he found a Land Rover parked at the door of the villa. He looked at the license plate. Wasn't this Xiao Chen's car? Could it be that this thing was done by Xiao Chen? Xin Jinghao was furious. The more he thought about it, the more likely it was. After all, through his previous investigation he found that there seemed to be something wrong between Xiao Chen and Xin Jingxian. Xiao Chen must have lied to his daughter. Judging from the current situation, his daughter definitely didn't do it willingly. Otherwise, she wouldn't have texted him and she wouldn't have looked like she lost her wits. Thinking of this, Xin Jinghao didn't care about anything else. He walked directly to the Land Rover and exerted his strength. The door of the Land Rover's driver's seat was pulled down by him and fell to the ground with a "Pa." Xiao Qin, get out. The moment the door was opened, Xin Jinghao's eyes saw a person sitting in the driver's seat of the car, so he subconsciously thought that it was Xiao Qin who did something bad and didn't have time to escape. But in the next moment he felt that something was wrong, because this person wasn't Xiao Qin, but Qin Jinpeng. Xiao Qin and Qin Jinpeng were people he was familiar with. He could recognize the problem at a glance. Qin Jinpeng, how come it's you? What are you doing here? Xin Jinghao was a little inexplicable. Why is the person in the car at the door Qin Jinpeng? However, Qin Jinpeng didn't respond to him. Xin Jinghao shouted again, then reached out to push Qin Jinpeng. It was just a push and Qin Jinpeng fell directly on the passenger seat, motionless. Chapter 319. Jin Peng? Qin Jinghao yelled and pulled him up. This time he took a closer look. He saw that Qin Jinpeng's throat had been broken, and he was no longer breathing. Qin Jinghao was shocked. Fortunately, Xie Huang and Xie Qin were here. If he was alone, others would think that he killed Qin Jinpeng. After all, Qin Jinpeng was a person at the scene. It was normal for Qin Jinghao to think that he was the one who harmed Qin Jingxian. It was not surprising that Qin Jinghao killed him to vent his anger. He has been dead for a while. Although Xie Qin was not a pharmacist, he had been dealing with medicinal herbs since he was a child. He still had some understanding of some medical things. He was really ecstatic now. Previously, when he was drinking with Qin Jinghao, he had already learned that the Qin family and the Qin family were in-laws. Qin Jinghao's daughter was engaged to Qin Jinpeng of the Qin family. Therefore, although he was very obsessed with Qin Jingxian before, he also knew that Qin Jingxian belonged to Qin Jinpeng, not him. He could only look at her. Now that he heard that the person who died was Qin Jinpeng, he was overjoyed. Qin Jinpeng was dead. Didn't that mean that he had a chance? Of course, if Qin Jingxian hadn't been raped, then Xie Qin wouldn't have a chance. The gap between the Xie family and the Qin family wasn't small, especially when Xie Qin wasn't the focus of the Xie family. In the future, the successor to the position of the family master would definitely be Xie Huang. It would be good if he could get the position of the family elder if he worked hard. However, that was also a matter of the future. Now, he was just a member of the Xie family's business executive. He didn't have a special identity. But now that Qin Jingxian was no longer a virgin, Xie Qin had a chance. The Xie family could use this as a condition to talk about marriage with the Qin family. We don't care. As long as Qin Jingxian is willing to marry, the Xie family will be grateful and marry her. It could be said that at this moment, Xie Qin's mind turned quickly. He suddenly figured out the key, so he began to flatter Qin Jinghao. He jumped out and said so, in fact, to testify for Qin Jinghao that he was not the murderer of Qin Jinpeng. While the three of them were shocked by Qin Jinpeng's death, an Audi A6L drove over quickly and stopped beside the Land Rover and Qin Jinghao. Chao Yuliang quickly got out of the car and shouted, "Uncle Qin, you're here too. Just now, Jinpeng sent me a message saying that something happened here. Xiao Qin wanted to do something bad to Jingxian, so I rushed over." "How is it? How is it? Did you catch Xiao Qin?" "Xiao Qin?" Qin Jinghao was stunned and frowned. How did it have something to do with Xiao Qin? Right, the Land Rover in front of me belongs to Xiao Qin. Was Qin Jinpeng killed by Xiao Qin? However, Xiao Qin wasn't a martial artist. How could he kill Qin Jinpeng, who was at the peak of the second stage of inner force? It wasn't realistic. Yes, Xiao Qin is in the car, right? Jinpeng told me that Xiao Qin was going to do something to Jingxian. He asked me to hurry over. As Chao Yuliang spoke, he stuck his head out to look inside the car. What he saw shocked him. Isn't this Golden Rock? What happened to him? He was killed. I just found out. Qin Jinghao said, I saw a car here. I thought it was Xiao Qin's car, so I pulled the door open. As a result, I found that Qin Jinpeng was dead inside. According to the two nephews of the Xie family, Qin Jinpeng had been dead for a while. It should have been before we came. Yes, and the person who killed him was obviously a powerful martial artist. He made Qin Jinpeng unable to fight back. Xie Qin pointed at Qin Jinpeng's throat and said, I don't know who did it? Chao Yuliang was a little dumbfounded. What's going on? According to the plan, it shouldn't be like this. Wasn't Qin Jinpeng supposed to be arrogant and catch Xiao Qin in the act? But how did it become Qin Jinpeng's death? Where's Xiao Qin? Could it be that Xiao Qin didn't come? At this moment, Chao Yuliang's mind was blank. Qin Jinpeng, who was on the phone with him and planned to deal with Xiao Qin, died just like that? There's a mask here. Xie Huang was also carefully investigating the situation inside the car. Suddenly, he found a silicone mask under the windshield of the car. This mask. Isn't it Xiao Qin's appearance? When Xie Huang picked up the mask and opened it with his hand, Qin Jinghao recognized the person on the mask at a glance. Yes, it must be Xiao Qin. He killed Qin Jinpeng. Chao Yuliang was stunned at the moment. If he couldn't frame Xiao Qin now, then he couldn't complete the task that Qing Mingqiang gave him. So as long as there was a chance, he must blame Qin Jinpeng's death on Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin, Qin Jinpeng. Qin Jinghao wasn't stupid. On the contrary, he was very shrewd. At this moment, he looked at the dead Qin Jinpeng in the car and looked at the mask on the car's windshield. He suddenly said to Xie Huang and Xie Qin, You help me put the mask on Qin Jinpeng's head. Okay, Uncle Qin. Xie Qin was now obedient to Qin Jinghao. He directly took the silicone mask from his cousin, Xie Huang, and put it on Qin Jinping's head. Then Shen Jinghao began to carefully observe the masked Qin Jinping. After observing for a while, he only came to one conclusion. This mask was Qin Jinping's. It should be known that this kind of advanced silicone mask was made to a certain ratio. In order to fit the user's face perfectly, it was usually done by a real person. Qin Jinping's mask was like this. It fit perfectly on the head, and there was no trace of inappropriateness. This showed that this mask should be made by Qin Jinping himself. If it was made by someone else and used to frame him, it would be impossible to fit so perfectly. But in this case, why did Qin Jinping wear Xiao Qian's mask? Moreover, why did he drive the same car as Xiao Qian? What was his purpose? Frame someone? A word flashed in Shen Jinghao's mind. Of course, this frame wasn't someone else, Qin Jinping, but the guy Qin Jinping wanted, Xiao Qian. During this period, Shen Jinghao also intermittently judged through Shen Jingshuan's words that Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinping wanted to kill Xiao Qian. Especially at Qing Minjing's birthday party, Chao Yuliang talked nonsense after drinking. Although it was drunk, of course, it also represented his inner thoughts to a certain extent. Although Shen Jinghao didn't know why Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinping hated Xiao Qian so much that they wanted to kill him, and even united with the Li family to deal with Xiao Qian, he didn't want to interfere. After all, it had nothing to do with him. He didn't have a good relationship with Xiao Qian, nor did he have a good relationship with the Xiao family. Why did Shen Jinghao interfere? But these did not affect his judgment. In his opinion, it should be Qin Jinping who drove this Xiao Qian's Land Rover. Although he didn't know where he got it and then he came here. He didn't know how he deceived Shen Jingxian to come here, and then he pretended to be Xiao Qian and did that to Shen Jingxian. When he was about to escape, he didn't know how he encountered an accident and was killed by someone. And the person who killed him was very powerful. Although the reason was not known for the time being, it was definitely an accident. The arrival of Chao Yuliang after the incident also confirmed this point. This was clearly planned. If it was Qin Jinping who informed Chao Yuliang, how could Chao Yuliang come now? Qin Jinping had been dead for a long time. If he contacted Chao Yuliang, he must have contacted him before he died. In that case, did Chao Yuliang drive an ox cart here? Looking at the way he rushed here just now, it didn't seem like he was wasting time at all. So in conclusion, Qin Jinping pushed Qin Jingxian, and then wanted to frame Xiao Qian, and then Chao Yuliang came to help. However, something unexpected happened and the main character, Qin Jinping, died. In fact, if Qin Jinping didn't die, Shen Jinghao wouldn't be so angry when he did this kind of thing. After all, Shen Jingxian would be his woman sooner or later. Now it was just a little earlier. But now, Qin Jinping died after doing it once. Didn't this kill Shen Jingxian? How could she get married in the future? Moreover, even if she wanted to hide it now, she couldn't hide it anymore. Qin Jinping died, and the fact that he had sex with Shen Jingxian definitely couldn't be hidden. In this way, Shen Jingshuan's life was finished. Thinking of this, Shen Jinghao was furious. He wanted to confirm if it was what he guessed, so he walked into the villa again quickly. Looking at Shen Jingxian, who was sitting on the sofa with a blank face, he asked angrily, "Jingxian, tell me, did Xiao Qian do it?" Shen Jingxian was a little stunned, and her heart skipped a beat for no reason. Dad knew? How did he know? It's impossible. I clearly let Xiao Qian go. Did he come back? This idiot. Women's minds were sometimes very strange. Just a moment ago she was thinking that Xiao Qian would come back to give her clothes, and now she was thinking that Xiao Qian wouldn't come back. Looking at Shen Jingshuan's expression, Shen Jinghao knew that his guess was right. Now the whole thing could be confirmed. Qin Jinping really did it. He pretended to be Xiao Qian and then Shen Jingxian would definitely say that Xiao Qian did it. Now Shen Jinghao had some doubts. Was the contact between Xiao Qian and Shen Jingxian deliberately arranged by Qin Jinping and let him know? Wasn't this to increase the misunderstanding and make him think that Xiao Qian really did it? If Qin Jinping didn't die today and left smoothly, then Shen Jinghao would definitely think that Xiao Qian did it. Then Xiao Qian would definitely not be able to explain himself, and he would definitely be so angry that he would slap Xiao Qian to death. Even if he didn't slap Xiao Qian to death, he would capture him and bring him to the warrior guild. In that way, with the help of Qin Jinping's father, Qin Huanling, Xiao Qian would definitely die. What a good way to kill someone with a borrowed knife. What a good scheme. Shen Jinghao didn't say anything more to Shen Jingxian. Instead, he quickly took off his coat and threw it to Shen Jingxian, signaling her to put it on quickly. Chapter 320. Jingxian, hurry up and clean up. Something big happened. Qin Jinping is dead. Shen Jinghao turned around and walked out of the villa. Although she was his daughter, she had grown up now. He couldn't stay here when his daughter changed her clothes. Qin Jinping is dead. Shen Jingshuan's brain suddenly exploded, and she almost fainted. Did Xiao Qin do it? Xiao Qin is really daring. How dare he kill Qin Jinping? Shen Jingxian subconsciously thought that it was Xiao Qin who did it. He took possession of her. In order to prevent her from being with Qin Jinping, he chose to kill Qin Jinping by hook or by crook. For Shen Jingxian, Qin Jinping's death was not enough. This person always plotted with Chao Yuliang to kill Xiao Qin. Shen Jingxian hated him a long time ago. He used to be Xiao Qin's underling, but now he worked with Xiao Qin's enemy to harm Xiao Qin. He deserved to die. However, had Xiao Qin thought about the consequences of doing this? After he did this, would the Qin family let him go? Even the Shen family wouldn't let him go easily. He was destroying the family's plan to buy medicinal herbs. Without the Qin family's support, how could the Shen family buy medicinal herbs in the future? How could her younger brother, Shen Jingmao, get the position? All of these were enough to give Shen Jingxian a headache. Of course, she was most worried about Xiao Qin's safety. Now Xiao Qin was no longer the young master of the Xiao family. If the Qin family wanted to kill him, they could do it easily. There was no legitimate reason before, but now there was a reason. What could he do? This fellow is really worrisome. Not only did he occupy her in a daze, but he also created so much trouble. Didn't he know how to endure it? However, when it came to forbearance, Shen Jingxian felt that Xiao Qin was not an impulsive person. Just from the fact that he had been hiding his strength even after he was chased out of the family, she could tell that he was a courageous and astute person. Could it be because of him? There was a saying that love made people blind. Shen Jingxian thought about it carefully. It seemed that Xiao Qin started to show his strength after she got together with him. Did I hurt him? Shen Jingxian could not help but sigh. What should she do? She had already ignored her own feelings. All that was left was worry. She quickly put on her father's coat, covering her from head to toe. Looking at the bloodstains on the sofa, Shen Jingxian hesitated for a moment. She picked up the sofa cushion, rolled it up, and put it in her school bag not far away. This was a souvenir of herself and Xiao Qin. No matter what the future would be, this would become a memory for Shen Jingxian. Although she was a little annoyed after it happened, it was beautiful when it happened. After leaving the villa, Shen Jingxian found that outside the villa, in addition to her father, Xia Huang and Xia Qin, there were a few more people. There was Chao Yuliang, Qin Huanling from the Qin family, and a gloomy-looking martial artist beside Qin Huanling. Qin Huanling, look at what your son has done. Shen Zhenghao had shed all pretense of cordiality at this moment. Qin Jinping was dead and the marriage was nonsense. It was completely impossible. He must take the initiative. Since the matter had been blown up, he must make the Qin family pay the price. Otherwise, wouldn't Shen Jingxian be bullied for nothing? Qin Huanling's face was very gloomy and sad. He suddenly heard the bad news of his son's death. He rushed here in a hurry and was scolded by Shen Zhenghao. How could his mood be good? However, when he was on the road, Shen Zhenghao had already told him the analysis of the matter. He couldn't get angry even if he wanted to now. He could only say, "Elder brother Shen, this matter is not clear yet. Can you wait until I understand everything? Elder Xiang, please help me take a look. How and when did my son die?" "Yes, Vice President Qin." Elder Xiang nodded and began to check Qin Jinping's situation. Chao Yuliang was also scared to the point that his face turned pale. He didn't expect Shen Zhenghao to guess most of the plan correctly. He didn't want to deny it anymore. He just wanted to remove himself from the plan. However, it wasn't that difficult. Now that Qin Jinping was dead, there was no evidence. He could just blame it on Qin Jinping. He could say that Qin Jinping was the leader and he was just a helper. That way there wouldn't be any problem. Anyway, no one knew that he had to kill Xiao Qin because of Qing Mingqiang. On the surface, most people thought that Qin Jinping was the biggest beneficiary. Chao Yuliang didn't get any benefits at all. Shen Zhenghao snorted. He had a clear conscience, so he wasn't afraid of Qin Huanling. Moreover, the Shen family wasn't easy to bully. Qin Huanling wouldn't lie through his teeth. "Vice President Qin, your son was killed by a martial artist at the peak of Stage 6 internal force. He was killed with one move. The time of his death was half an hour ago," Elder Xiang said after a while. Qin Huanling could sense the strength of the person who killed him from the scene of his death. When he heard that the person was at the peak of Stage 6 internal force, Qin Huanling was shocked. Who was the one who did this? He had suspected that Shen Zhenghao didn't want to marry Qin Huanling and set up a trap. However, when he heard the time of death, he knew that Shen Zhenghao had been with Emperor Xia and Xia Qin. This couldn't be a lie. Besides, thinking about it carefully, no matter how crazy Qin Jinghao was, he wouldn't joke around with his daughter's reputation. If Qin Jinping hadn't been pushed down, it might have been a trap. But now it was all over. Qin Jinping was dead, and Qin Jingxian wouldn't be able to get married. Only a person with a mental problem would do such a thing. Chao Yuliang, you know what happened, right? Now that things have come to this, just tell me the truth. What is going on? Qin Huanling asked with a dark expression. This, Uncle Qin, it has nothing to do with me. I came here to help Jinping put on a show. I just didn't expect Jinping to become like this. Chao Yuliang said sadly. I know you are cooperating with him to put on an act. From the current situation, I can see that it was Qin Jinping who set this up to frame Xiao Qin. Tell me what's going on. Qin Jinghao snorted and berated. Okay. Actually, the matter is very simple. Previously, Uncle Qin, you brought Qin Jinping to the Warrior Guild to discuss the engagement with Uncle Qin. In the end, because you couldn't gather the medicinal ingredients, Uncle Qin didn't seem to be too concerned about the engagement between the two of you. Qin Jinping was a little flustered and was afraid that you would break off the engagement, so he wanted to cook the rice. In this way, wouldn't you have no way to break off the engagement? What does that have to do with framing Xiao Qin? Qin Jinghao's face darkened after he heard the reason. Was it because of him? He was a little embarrassed, so he interrupted Chao Yuliang's words and changed the topic to ask about Xiao Qin. Isn't he afraid of getting into trouble? If he did it with Qin Jingxian, then there are only two possibilities. Your Qin family will admit their loss and quickly agree to this marriage, or it will be a life-and-death struggle. The Qin family and the Qin family will break off. Chao Yuliang said, but it's different to frame Xiao Qin. What's different? Although Qin Jinghao felt that Chao Yuliang's words were a little unpleasant, he had to admit that Chao Yuliang's words were right. The Qin family was a family that cared about their reputation. If something like this happened, I'm afraid that they wouldn't stop even if they had to sacrifice Qin Jingshuan's reputation. Otherwise, if any small family was allowed to do this and all the women of the Qin family were raped, then what would happen to the Qin family in the future? Even if old Master Qin wanted to make such a decision, Qin Jinghao had no right to participate unless he concealed it. But there was no impenetrable wall in the world. If he concealed it, it would be bad for Qin Jingmao if this matter was exposed in the future. Uncle Qin, you also know that Qin Jinping has always hated Xiao Qin. After all, Xiao Qin also likes Qin Jingxian. He even helped Xiao Qin pursue Qin Jingxian. This was a great shame for him, so Qin Jinping wanted to kill Xiao Qin. The most important problem is that Xiao Qin had cheated Qin Jinping several times before. Qin Jinping's car was cheated by Xiao Qin. So Qin Jinping hates Xiao Qin. Chao Yuliang said. Qin Jinghao nodded. He was clear about what Chao Yuliang said. The cars that Xiao Qin drove before were Qin Jinping's, but there was one thing that Chao Yuliang didn't say. That was Chao Yuliang also had a conflict with Xiao Qin. However, it was normal to hide this, so Qin Jinghao didn't expose him. Qin Jinghao wouldn't believe that there was no Chao Yuliang's instigation. But now there was no need to offend the Chao family. And then? Qin Jinghao asked, after framing Xiao Qin, what benefits does he get? After framing Xiao Qin, he will definitely go home and contact Uncle Qin. Then he will ask Uncle Qin to help him put Xiao Qin to death. Then when Xiao Qin is dead, he will jump out to comfort Qin Jingxian, saying that he doesn't despise Qin Jingxian. At that time, Qin Jingxian will definitely be very touched and then accept Qin Jinping. Moreover, she will feel that she owes Qin Jinping for the rest of her life. She will treat him well. Isn't this killing two birds with one stone? Chao Yuliang explained. Qin Jinping is good at scheming, right? Qin Huanling, what do you say? Qin Jinghao was furious at the moment. Now that things had happened and it was Qin Jinping who did it, the worst thing was that Qin Jinping was dead. Then what about Qin Jingxian? Brother Qin, don't worry. I will definitely give the Qin family an explanation for this matter. I won't let it go so easily. But now, death is the most important thing. Let's bury Jinping first. Qin Huanling was also very helpless. Before, he had heard Qin Jinping vaguely mention that there was a plan to put Xiao Qin to death, and he needed his cooperation. He didn't expect that it was this plan. Okay, this is what you said. Qin Jinghao nodded. He also knew that it was meaningless to pester him at this moment. Since Qin Huanling made a promise in front of so many people, he would certainly not go back on his word. When the time came, he would ask Qin Huanling to fight for more resources for the Qin family. Chapter 321. Brother Qin, I have a condition. I don't know if you can agree to it, Qin Huanling said after a moment of hesitation. Oh, you have a condition? Qin Jinghao sneered. Tell me. Let's see what condition you have left. Qin Huanling didn't get angry. He said in a negotiating tone, if Jingxian is pregnant this time, can we keep the child? Whether it's a boy or a girl, the Qin family will be grateful. From now on, the Qin family's business is the Qin family's business. We will do our best. Qin Huanling was a little sad. Qin Jingquan died, and now the only child, Qin Jinpeng, was also dead. Wouldn't the Qin family have no descendants? Therefore he was thinking that Qin Jingxian might have fallen for it this time. If she was pregnant, then she had to give birth to it. Well, Qin Jinghao was actually a little moved. After all, things had already happened. If Qin Jingxian could continue to get the Qin family's support because of having a child, it would be a good thing. No, I don't want it. Qin Jingxian shrieked as she squatted on the ground in pain. She began to cry sorrowfully. She had always thought that the person she had sex with was Xiao Qin. However, when she left the house, it didn't seem right. How did it become Qin Jinpeng? When she saw Qin Jinpeng wearing Xiao Qian's mask, Qin Jingxian was dumbfounded. At that time, she was intoxicated by the incense. She saw that the person in front of her was Xiao Qin. However, now that she saw that the silicone mask was so realistic, Qin Jingxian began to doubt it. She wasn't very clear-headed at that time. In her opinion, the person she had sex with might be Qin Jinpeng. Although Xiao Qin said that he would enter the Qin family openly, Qin Jingshuan's mind was still in a mess at that time, so she completely ignored it. At this moment, her mind was in chaos. Was it Qin Jinpeng? It must be. Otherwise, why would he drive the same car as Xiao Qin? Why did he dress up as Xiao Qin? Qin Jingxian hated herself a little. Why didn't she resist back then? Could it be that his desire was so strong that he couldn't even resist? What should he do now? She was no longer pure, not because of Xiao Qin but because of Qin Jinpeng. How could she face Xiao Qin in the future? As for how Qin Jinpeng died, in her opinion, it must have been killed by Xiao Qin. In Songning City, only Xiao Qin dared to kill Qin Jinpeng. He must have come here and seen what happened between Qin Jinpeng and me, and then killed Qin Jinpeng in a fit of rage. Then why didn't he come to see me? Yes, he must be sad and disappointed in me. Ai Qin Jingxian, how can you face Xiao Qin? Originally she was a little confused and sad. At this time, when she heard that Qin Huanling actually asked her to give birth to a child for Qin Jinpeng, Qin Jingxian completely collapsed. She squatted on the ground and cried sadly. Let's talk about this later. Qin Jinghao sighed. In the end, he couldn't bear to let Qin Jingxian give birth to a child for the Chen family. That was a little too much. Although he wanted to use the power of the Chen family to let Qin Jingmao take over, it also required Qin Jingshuan's consent. Alright, then I'll have to trouble brother Qin to take care of Jingxian. Qin Huanling gave Qin Jinghao a look. In fact, he was reminding him not to let Qin Jingxian take medicine and go to the hospital. Okay. Qin Jinghao nodded. Qin Huanling dragged Qin Jinpeng out of the car. With a plop, a box of medicine fell from Qin Jinpeng's pocket. It was a box of levonorgestrel, an emergency contraceptive pill. What's this? Qin Jinghao was dazed. However, Qin Jingxian squatted on the ground. Her eyes were sharp. She saw the words on the box at first glance. She picked it up, opened it and swallowed it. Everyone present was shocked. Qin Jinghao quickly grabbed the box from Qin Jingshuan's hand and took a look. Only then did he understand why Qin Jingxian swallowed it. However, he didn't blame her. He just sighed. However, Qin Huanling immediately exploded. She's taking birth control pills? Brother Qin, take her to the hospital right now to have her stomach pumped. She must spit it out. Enough. Qin Jinghao sneered. Qin Huanling, since Jingxian doesn't want to have a child, don't force her. Besides, who bought this pill? Qin Jinpeng bought it. Who can you blame? Qin Huanling immediately gave up. Yes, the pill was bought by Qin Jinpeng. He didn't want to lose his grandson and he didn't want to pretend to be polite to the Qin family anymore. He said directly, fine, if that's the case, the Qin family will take responsibility for this. But from now on, the Qin and Qin families will go their own ways and have nothing to do with each other. Whatever you want. Qin Jinghao was also angry. Your son is so calculative. He even bought contraceptive pills. He planned to give them to Jingxian when he came out to persuade her, right? He was afraid that the child would be discovered to be Qin Jinpeng's, right? But it's fine now. It was your son's intention to give Jingxian the pill. He can die in peace. You. Qin Huanling was furious, but he couldn't argue back. He snorted and quickly left with Elder Xiang and Qin Jinping's dead bodies. Jingxian? Shen Jinghao patted his daughter's back. What would Jingxian do now? Although this matter wouldn't be widely spread, at least everyone in the upper class knew about it. Shen Jingxian wouldn't be able to marry into an aristocratic family in the future. Who would want such a girl in an aristocratic family? It would be fine if it wasn't made public. But now that everyone knew about it, wouldn't people laugh at her behind her back if she married her? Uncle Shen Jingshuan's decision is right. Why should she give birth to a child for the Qin family? Jingxian is so beautiful. She won't have to worry about finding a husband in the future. In this day and age, what's the point of being a virgin? 8 out of 10 are not virgins. It doesn't matter at all. At least our Xia family doesn't care about it. Xia Qin immediately walked over and comforted him. Xia Huang looked at his cousin in surprise. He immediately understood what he was thinking and fell into deep thought. Although Shen Jingshuan's reputation was ruined, she was still a member of the Shen family. A marriage between the Shen family and the Xia family would only bring benefits. Now it seemed that Xia Qin was interested in Shen Jingxian. Otherwise he wouldn't have said those words. Xia Qin wasn't a direct descendant of the Xia family. Letting Xia Qin marry Shen Jingxian wouldn't affect the Xia family's reputation. Instead, it would give the Xia family a powerful helper. Since Xia Huang could tell, how could Shen Jinghao not? He gave Xia Qin a meaningful look, only to see that although Xia Qin was talking to him, Xia Qin's eyes were fixed on Shen Jingxian, who was on the ground. He suddenly thought of something. Although Xia Qin wasn't a direct descendant of the Xia family, he was still the grandson of Xia Huang's grandfather, Xia Chaonan's younger brother, Xia Chaobei. He was also one of the key people to be trained by the Xia family. In the future he could enter the Xia family's parliament and become an elder. So, it wasn't a loss for Shen Jingxian to marry him. Of course, it also depended on Shen Jingshuan's opinion and the Xia family's attitude. Xia Qin's words were only said by Xia Qin. Xia Huang hadn't said anything yet. After all, Xia Huang was the one who could speak on behalf of the Xia family. Well, thank you for your company today. But it's getting late. I'll take Jingxian back first. We'll talk about other things tomorrow. When Shen Jinghao said this, he looked at Xia Qin. This made Xia Qin overjoyed. There was a way. He immediately nodded and said, "Okay, I'll personally visit Uncle Shen tomorrow." Okay. Shen Jinghao nodded. He carried Shen Jingxian in his arms, got into his car and quickly drove away from this place. Xia Huang looked at Xia Qin. He found it funny that Xia Qin was reluctant to part with him. He patted him and said, "Why? Are you interested?" "Cousin, I won't hide it from you. I couldn't help but fall in love with her the first time I saw her." Xia Qin said, "Can you support me?" "I can support you. It's not a problem. It's a good thing for us to unite with the Shen family through marriage." Xia Huang didn't refuse. He said, "But it depends on Shen Jinghao's opinion and how much support we can give to the Shen family. Don't think that our Xia family is a business family. When we are prosperous, those aristocratic families will curry favor with us and respect us. However, our family doesn't have any foundation. If it weren't for the White Fox Hero's help, we would have already been finished. So, don't take our Xia family too seriously." Xia Huang could see it clearly. In fact, this was normal. Therefore, the marriage between the Shen family and the Xia family was a sign of respect for the Xia family. "I know." Although he said so, Xia Qin didn't agree with it. The Xia family was powerful now. They were the only family in the warriors' market. Who could compete with them? So, in his opinion, if this matter really worked, it would definitely work. Let's do it this way. Tonight, I will ask my father and second uncle for their opinion. If they agree, I will talk to Shen Jinghao on your behalf." Xia Huang said. "Ah, thank you, big brother." Xia Qin was overjoyed and nodded quickly. Since Shen Jinghao and Shen Jingxian had left, Xia Qin and Xia Huang didn't have any reason to stay here. So, they also got in the car and left quickly. The originally lively entrance of Villa number 18 was instantly restored to silence. Xiao Qin had been observing the situation from a short distance away. Originally, he was prepared to use the identity of the White Fox to deal with the unexpected situation. However, Shen Jinghao had come, and things had started to develop in a direction that he had not expected. He actually saw the dead Qin Jinping in the car that was exactly the same as him at the door. Later, when he heard Chao Yuliang's words, he was suddenly surprised. This was really a freaking mistake. But who helped me kill Qin Jinping? If this kid didn't die, wouldn't I miss out on Goddess Shen? Chapter 322. Now, with this, the incense in the room and Qin Jingxian being drugged could be explained. It was all done by Qin Jinping. Xiao Chen was caught off guard by this shifting of the blame. He was thinking about how to talk to Qin Jinghao and get him to agree to the matter between him and Qin Jingxian. But now that things had gone wrong, it wasn't good for him to appear immediately. It was only right for the Qin family to compensate the Shen family with some benefits. That kid had disgusted Goddess Shen for so long. He should pay the price for his death. Of course, Xiao Chen didn't know that Qin Jingxian had also misunderstood. In his opinion, Qin Jingxian should know that the person who had sex with her was him. Even if he was also wearing the school uniform and Qin Jinping was also wearing the same school uniform and also used a voice changer, after all, what he said and she had said before. Qin Jinping didn't know. Therefore, Xiao Chen wasn't worried that Qin Jingxian would misunderstand. What he was worried about now was how to explain it to Goddess Shen. F***ck, Goddess Shen must think that I killed Qin Jinping, and in order to get her, I will do anything to get her. However, this Qin Jinping really didn't kill me. Xiao Chen was also a little puzzled now. Who killed Qin Jinping? Isn't this too much of a coincidence? I was still too impulsive. Xiao Chen didn't expect that he would cause so much trouble. Although he could temporarily push the trouble to Qin Jinping, would Qin Jingxian think highly of him for such an irresponsible approach? Xiao Chen had a headache. Why was I impulsive at that time? Elder Heaven Ancestor? Xiao Chen called. Elder Heaven Ancestor is already resting. Leave a message if you need anything. Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice rang out. Xiao Chen was speechless. Don't leave a message, Elder Heaven Ancestor. Why did I suddenly feel like I was possessed and wanted to push Goddess Shen down? It's normal. There's incense in the house. You were poisoned too. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said, moreover, I sensed that the nefarious energy in your body suddenly went berserk. Was it because of the nefarious energy? Otherwise, you've cultivated the Heaven's stolen fortune battle art backwards, resulting in a sequela. Now that you mention it, it seems that both are possible. Which one is it? Xiao Chen smiled bitterly. I don't know. I'll have to wait until you go out of control a few more times before I can tell, the Elder Heaven Ancestor said. I have to go out of control a few more times? I pushed Qin Jingxian this time. Who do you want me to push next time? Xiao Chen was startled. If he pushed Miss Cheng, it would be a big problem. Let me think. It's either Tang Tang or Jean Beibei, right? The Elder Heaven Ancestor answered seriously. Puff. Elder Heaven Ancestor, can you be more normal? Xiao Chen didn't know what to say. Next time if I do this again, how about you take over my body? I take over your body and then I push girls? The Elder Heaven Ancestor was stunned and said, no, I won't do that. I mean, after you take over my body, you must stop me. Xiao Chen was so shocked that he almost fell to the ground. Oh, I can't stop you. It's your body's instinct after being drugged. How can I stop you? Besides, your spiritual willpower was the strongest at that time. It was impossible for me to take over your body. You'd better figure it out yourself. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said, if I force myself to take over your body, I'm afraid I'll be in a coma after one time. All right. Xiao Chen was a little helpless, but he had no choice. Since the Elder Heaven Ancestor said so, he couldn't force it anymore. Since it was over, Xiao Chen returned to his original appearance. He went to the parking lot not far away, got in the Land Rover and drove back to the villa. On the way, Xiao Chen wanted to send a text message to Qin Jingxian to ask her how she was, but he didn't dare to send it. He was afraid that Qin Jingshuan's mobile phone would be seen by Qin Jinghao, so he could only endure it first. All the way back to the villa, Xiao Chen's mood was a little heavy. The miss didn't know about it. She was watching TV leisurely. When she saw Xiao Chen coming back, she just glanced at him and continued to watch TV. Xiao Chen brewed the medicinal herbs and then went to the kitchen to cook for the Mississippi. To Xiao Chen's surprise, he saw some vegetable ingredients in the kitchen. It should be Yi Xiaoya who bought it. You told Yi Xiaoya to buy vegetables? Asked Xiao Chen. Cheng Menjing said with some pride, I told her that if she wants to eat the dinner you cooked, she has to buy vegetables every day, so she did it. She finally listens to me. After listening to the Mrs. self-deceiving words, Xiao Chen suddenly touched his nose speechlessly. Is this also considered as an assignment? Maybe it's because eldest miss has been losing the battle against Yi Xiaoya recently. Yi Xiaoya bought vegetables to eat the meal I cooked. This is a fair transaction. How can it be considered as an assignment? However, Xiao Chen didn't say it. He just nodded and got busy in the kitchen. He was worried about Qin Jingxian in his heart, so he was a little absent-minded when cooking. However, with the primordial qi to make up for it, The dishes were still delicious. Xin Jingxian returned to the villa with Xin Jinghao with a blank face. Xin Jinghao wanted to say something to comfort her, but he didn't know what to say. He saw his daughter go back to her bedroom and close the door without saying a word. After a while, there was a burst of water sound in the bedroom. It should be Xin Jingxian taking a bath. Originally, Xin Jinghao wanted to enter the door to talk to her and ease her up, but now he could only wait for a while. When Xin Jingxian returned to the room, she rushed into the bathroom, turned on the shower, and began to wash her body frantically over and over again. She was a little disgusted. I was actually done by Qin Jinping. It's not Xiao Qin. It's actually not Xiao Qin. As she thought about it, a line of tears flowed down from the corner of her eyes. It mixed with the water in the shower, and it was blurred and indistinguishable. I am no longer pure and I have lost my virginity. How can I face Xiao Qin in the future? Xin Jingxian wanted to wash away the smell of Qin Jinping on her body, but no matter how she washed, she still felt that there was the smell of Qin Jinping on her body. In fact, she also knew that this was a psychological problem, but she just couldn't get rid of it. Xin Jingxian stood under the shower until the hot water in the water heater was used up, and the cold water began to fall. Xin Jingxian didn't know it and she was still washing her body. Xin Jinghao waited outside for more than 2 hours. When he heard the sound of water coming from Xin Jingshuan's bedroom, he was a little anxious. Is Xin Jingxian okay? Thinking of this, Xin Jinghao quickly knocked on Xin Jingshuan's door. Jingxian, are you still taking a bath? How is it? Say something. Dad is a little worried. Xin Jingxian shivered because of the cold water. She hurriedly turned off the shower and quickly picked up a bath towel to dry her body. She changed into pajamas, walked quickly to the door and opened the door. Dad, Jingxian, are you okay? Why is your body so cold? As soon as he opened the door, Xin Jinghao felt a cold air blowing on his face, and he was suddenly shocked. No, nothing. Xin Jingxian shook her head and turned to sit on her bed. There was no expression on her face, only emptiness. Xin Jinghao sighed, walked over and sat next to Xin Jingxian. He sat down and said, Jingxian, life is not as you wish. Today's matter, although it was Qin Jinping who did it, he also got the punishment he deserved. In the future you still have your own life. Don't be so depressed. Xin Jingxian burst into tears without any warning. Her tears flowed out at the beginning, but it turned into a loud wail. Xin Jinghao was dumbfounded. What was going on? Everything was fine. I just comforted her. Why did she suddenly cry so much? In fact, the reason why Xin Jingxian suddenly cried and cried so sadly was because Xin Jinghao said the word Xiao Qin. He said depressed. Thinking of Xiao Qin, Xin Jingxian felt that she was sorry for him. It was all her fault. After being drugged, her desire was too strong. She didn't see clearly and thought that Qin Jinping was Xiao Qin. If she had seen it clearly, if it weren't for Xiao Qin, she would have refused desperately. Xin Jingxian felt that even if she didn't risk her life, she would have bitten her tongue to keep her chastity. In fact, many things were often like this. At the time, it didn't seem to be a problem, but the more she thought about it later, the more she felt that there was a problem. The person at the beginning was obviously Xiao Qin, but after a series of things, Xin Jingxian began to suspect that the person who slept with her was Qin Jinping. Jingxian, what's wrong? Xin Jinghao looked at Xin Jingxian, who was crying so sadly, and this time he was really at a loss. Don't cry. No matter what, you are the daughter of the Xin family. Although Jinping is dead, you still have other choices. Today, Xie Qin of the Xie family showed that he likes you. Jingxian, why don't you marry him? In my opinion, the Xie family is not as good as the Qin family, and Xie Qin's position in the Xie family is not as good as Qin Jinping. He will definitely treat you well. He won't care about these things. Xin Jingxian kept crying. Although she heard her father's words, she didn't have the mood to think about it now. What she was thinking about now was how to see Xiao Qin in the future. Xiao Qin must know about this. He also killed Qin Jinping. If she was impure, Xiao Qin would definitely dislike her. Xin Jingxian suddenly regretted it. It would have been better to marry Xiao Qin in the beginning, and she wouldn't have today's troubles. Jingxian, did you hear what Dad said? Xin Jinghao comforted her. Being alive is more important than anything. Even if Qin Jinping got you, he is dead. What's the use of that? Think about it. He is dead and doesn't exist anymore. Does that make you feel better? Xin Jingxian shook her head in pain. Her mind was in chaos. Her mind was full of guilt towards Xiao Qin. Although she could hear what her father said, she still couldn't settle her mind. Chapter 323. Jingxian, in fact, you can consider Xie Qin of the Xie family. Since he doesn't care about these things, this is also an opportunity for you. Shen Jinghao said, although Xie Qin is not a core member of the second generation of the Xie family, he is also a key training target. Oh. Shen Jingxian answered without expressing her opinion. Marry Xie Qin? Maybe. Maybe in this way Xiao Chen will completely give up on me. I don't deserve him. He'd better be with Cheng Menjing. After calming down a little, Shen Jingxian began to think about Xiao Chen. She was no longer pure, so she couldn't be with Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen had better choices such as Cheng Menjing, Tang Tang and Jin Beibei. They were all good choices. Why did he still like her? In the past she was a high and mighty goddess. Now she had already been turned into a broken flower by Qin Jinpeng. Xiao Chen definitely didn't like her anymore, right? He killed Qin Jinpeng to vent his anger today, but he didn't come in to see her. Obviously he didn't want to face her anymore. That must be it. Xiao Chen didn't know how to explain it to her, so he chose to escape first. Why did she bother to get close to him? Originally, Shen Jingxian wanted to send a text message to Xiao Chen to explain to him. But now she thought about it carefully. Xiao Chen knew it and saw her being raped by Qin Jinpeng, but he still didn't come to comfort her. Then why did she embarrass him? She might as well marry into the Xie family. In this way she would have nothing to do with Xiao Chen. They would break up peacefully and never contact each other again. Now Shen Jingxian had gone to the extreme. She took it for granted that the person she raped was Qin Jinpeng, and Qin Jinpeng was killed by Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen didn't come to her after killing Qin Jinpeng because he didn't want to be with her anymore. Jingxian, do you agree? Hearing Shen Jingshuan's words, Shen Jinghao was a little happy. Although it was unreasonable for his daughter to marry someone else as soon as Qin Jinpeng died, he actually wanted Shen Jingxian to walk out of the shadow as soon as possible. The Shen family was an ancient martial arts family. It was true that they valued sons more than daughters. However, Shen Jinghao was also a person who had been in contact with modern society for many years. He also loved his daughter. He didn't want his daughter to live a miserable life. Now the Xie family was undoubtedly the best choice. And? Shen Jingxian nodded. Anyway, she was now a broken flower. She could be used to marry into the Xie family in exchange for some resources for her brother. This was also what Shen Jingxian wanted to see. Her heart was dead. Since she couldn't be with Xiao Chen in this life, it didn't matter who she married. Just treat these few short weeks of happiness as a dream. Okay, then I will agree to Xie Chen's marriage proposal tomorrow. When you appear as the daughter-in-law of the Xie family, those rumors will naturally disappear. Although the Xie family's foundation is unfortunate, they are now the only supplier of Songning martial artist market. Their current status is still quite prominent. They are the object of everyone's flattery. Shen Jinghao said. Shen Jingxian responded softly, Dad, I'm sleepy. I'm going to sleep first. Okay. Don't worry. This little setback is nothing. Shen Jinghao nodded and patted Shen Jingshuan's shoulder. He went out of the room. He had to call the Shen family immediately to report this matter. Moreover, Shen Jingshuan's mother and younger brother also had to be informed. Shen Jinghao sighed. It would be a lie to say that he didn't care about his daughter. However, sometimes one must know how to make a choice. In an ancient martial arts family, the man was the root. Shen Jingxian covered her head with the quilt and cried again on the bed. The originally beautiful life suddenly became bleak. Xiaochen, I miss you. Shen Jinghao told the Shen family about what happened here. After the Shen family heard it, they were furious. However, after learning that Qin Jinpeng had been killed, they felt helpless. From the perspective of the Shen family, if Qin Jinpeng was not dead, everything would be fine. They would let the Qin family pay a certain price, and then Shen Jingxian would continue to marry Qin Jinpeng. This was a good thing that killed two birds with one stone. But now that Qin Jinpeng was dead, how could Shen Jingxian still marry into the Qin family? The third generation of the Qin family was all dead. They couldn't have a ghost marriage, right? However, after hearing that Shen Jinghao was interested in the Xie family, Grandpa Shen immediately agreed to Shen Jinghao's decision. He would let Shen Jingxian marry into the Xie family to calm down the storm as soon as possible. Moreover, the Xie family was not weak. For the Shen family, although it was not as important as Qin Huanling's position in the Qin family, it was still very important. In a hotel, Li Shaning was paying attention to the progress of the matter. He had already talked to his grandpa. Although Grandpa Shen did not agree with his impulsiveness, now that the matter had already happened, he still had to try his best to help him settle it. So, he let him stay in the hotel first. Grandpa Li did not hesitate to use his connections to personally inquire about the news for him. Now the situation was clear. Li Shanning also knew why Qin Jinping pretended to be Xiao Qian. This result made Li Shanning speechless. I'm really meddlesome. If it weren't for me, Xiao Qian would have been dead tonight, wouldn't he? But now Xiao Qian did not die and Qin Jinping was mistakenly killed by me. I am really meddlesome. However, there was one thing that made Li Shanning feel a little strange. When I first saw Qin Jinping should not have succeeded yet. Otherwise, why did he buy the medicine with Xiao Qian's face and return to the villa with Xiao Qian's face? According to the progress of the plot, Qin Jinping should have appeared in the pharmacy and the villa with his original face. After all, if someone investigated and found that it was Xiao Qian who bought the medicine, and in the end, it was Qin Jinping who gave it to Qin Jingxian, they would definitely be suspicious. Moreover, he had already returned to the villa. Why did Qin Jinping still not take off his mask? Wasn't he sick? If someone saw it at this time, wouldn't his previous plan be in vain? Could it be that Qin Jinping did not succeed? Who was the one who pushed Qin Jingxian down? Or could it be that Qin Jingxian was not pushed down at all, and it was the Qin family who put on a show? Li Shanning was puzzled. Of course he would not jump out and say this matter now. Wasn't it looking for trouble for himself? Now in Li Shanning's view, the Qin family should be more likely to put on a show. After all, through several contacts with Qin Jinping and Qin Jingxian, Li Shanning found that Qin Jingxian did not seem to like Qin Jinping at all. In this way it could also be explained. Under normal circumstances, the Qin family could not break off the engagement. Now, not only could they break off the engagement but they could also get some benefits. This was really a good plan. Of course, as for Qin Jingshuan's reputation, it was not within the scope of Li Shanning's consideration. His family was not worse than the Qin family, but it was still very serious. The women in this kind of family were basically tools for the family's interests. Reputation and so on could be completely ignored. However, this was a blackmail. Li Shanning really planned to blackmail Qin Jinghao. But not now. Wouldn't he expose himself if he went out? At night, Xiao Qian sat cross-legged on the bed and began to practice the mantra. The matter of Qin Jingxian was like a fishbone stuck in his throat, which made him very uncomfortable. But the more it was like this, the stronger his desire to practice was. He wanted to improve his strength and improve his strength again. Only by possessing absolute strength could one enter the Qin family with dignity and dignity. Now in Xiao Qian's view, Qin Jingxian drove him away to protect him. If the Qin family and the Qin family knew that it was him who did it, they would definitely not let him go. Even if Xiao Qian was now a cultivator at the peak of the 5th level of the refinement stage, even if the Qin family did not do much, the Qin family alone was enough to make Xiao Qian suffer. Moreover, now that Qin Jinping died inexplicably, if he stood out, the Qin family would definitely think that he killed Qin Jinping. Then he would really be unable to explain himself. Xiao Qian took a deep breath. He finally understood that in the world of martial artists, strength was everything. If Xiao Qian was a cultivator at the 9th or 10th level of the refinement stage, even if he pointed to Qin Wuxian's nose and said that he killed Qin Jinping, Qin Wuxian would not even dare to fart. This was the powerful deterrence brought about by strength. After taking the medicine and training, Xiao Qian was now in the best state of cultivation. He held the spiritual jade in his hand and quickly practiced the mantra. Suddenly, a trace of heaven and earth Reiki began to surge around Xiao Qian's body. As he practiced the mantra, the Reiki began to flow into his body. A small amount of heaven and earth Reiki began to appear above his head and around his body. Am I going to break through? Xiao Qian was shocked. However, the movement of this breakthrough seemed to be a little big, and the speed was a little fast. He had just broken through to the 5th level of the refinement stage not long ago. Moreover, he had just reached the peak of the 5th level. Today there were already signs of a breakthrough? Normally, although the heaven and earth Reiki would be absorbed by Xiao Qian, it would not be attracted to him in such a big way. Instead, it would hover around him and flow into his body in large amounts. Of course, the so-called large amounts were also very small. In the current era, the heaven and earth Reiki was very thin. This kind of trickle of heaven and earth Reiki was not enough to satisfy Xiao Qian's needs for a breakthrough. Xiao Qian held the ancient jade tightly and quickly practiced the mantra. However, he felt that something was missing. Today was not the right day to break through. However, just as he was thinking about this, he felt a sudden surge of heat in his dantian. It surged into the meridians of his body and suddenly exploded. Boom! The powerful and majestic impact did not make Xiao Qian feel any pain. Instead, he felt a sense of relief. At the same time, the heat in his dantian continued to surge out and occupy the meridians of Xiao Qian's body. This powerful heat flowed back and forth in Xiao Qian's meridians. Soon Xiao Qin encountered something similar to a barrier. Chapter 324. Is this the barrier of the sixth layer of the Qi refinement realm? Xiao Qin was shocked. He really couldn't figure out why he was about to break through again in just a few days. How could he break through without the help of the ancient jade? However, the essence in his meridians was attacking the barrier again and again. This feeling couldn't be wrong. Although every time he reached the most crucial point, he would always be blocked by that invisible barrier, Xiao Qin knew that he was only one step away from breaking through. Xiao Qin didn't dare to be negligent. He continued to quickly circulate the mnemonic chant. No matter why he had to break through, breaking through was always a good thing. The essence in his body, under the guidance of the mnemonic chant, attacked the barrier like an avalanche. It wanted to break through the barrier in one fell swoop. Finally, as more and more Yuan Qi attacked the barrier began to loosen slightly. I'm about to break through. Xiao Qin clenched his teeth and continued to circulate the mnemonic chant. At this moment he felt like his body was like a balloon that was about to explode. However, he didn't stop. He continued to mobilize the essence in his body and crazily attacked the barrier. At this moment Xiao Qin's forehead was covered with beads of sweat. His clothes were completely soaked, and his face looked incomparably ferocious because of the huge explosion. Breakthrough! Xiao Qin shouted fiercely in his heart, and then his entire body shook. Boom! He only felt a loud sound coming from his body. The essence that had accumulated at the edge of the barrier surged out like a broken dam. I finally broke through. The sixth layer of the Qi refinement realm. Feeling the great satisfaction brought by his new strength, Xiao Qin took a deep breath and a faint smile appeared on his face. Elder Heaven Ancestor, I broke through. At this moment Xiao Qin suddenly felt like a genius that he hadn't felt for a long time. Previously, when the jade pendant was gone, it caused his cultivation speed to stagnate. Xiao Qin was really depressed for a long time. Moreover, Xiao Qin had not been able to break through to the fourth layer of the Qi refinement stage, which made him even more discouraged. However, after breaking through to the fifth layer and the sixth layer consecutively, Xiao Qin felt that he had once again become the genius Xiao Qin who had just stepped onto the path of cultivation. I know you broke through. The Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice was somewhat serious. But do you know why you broke through? Why? Xiao Qin was stunned. That's right, but he had never thought about why. From his point of view, breaking through was normal and not breaking through was abnormal. Because a part of the evil energy in your body was converted and turned into your essence, so you broke through. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said. The evil energy in my body was converted? Xiao Qin was stunned. The evil energy in my body, wasn't it always there? Why was it suddenly converted? It should be because of your goddess Shen. I'm not too sure about the details, I was resting at the time. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Xiao Qin suddenly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I say, Elder Heaven Ancestor, can you be more serious? I'm too serious. If I wasn't serious I would have peaked, so I was resting at the time. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said. But according to my guess, when you were venting, you might have converted a part of the evil energy for your own use, right? And this part of the evil energy is the root cause of your breakthrough. In other words, if I ask Goddess Shen to do it 2 more times, the evil energy will be completely removed? Xiao Qin asked hesitantly. That's hard to say. Why don't you do it 2 more times and I'll observe? The Elder Heaven Ancestor asked. Forget it, I'll figure it out myself. Xiao Qin couldn't help but smile bitterly. He still had to ask Shen Jingxian, but Shen Jingxian was ignoring him. Then, what's the special ability of the 6th level of the refinement stage? The ability of the 6th level of the refinement stage. Why do you keep asking me? Can't you see for yourself? The Elder Heaven Ancestor said. But I'll tell you, you probably won't understand. The ability of the 6th level of the refinement stage is called object manipulation. Object manipulation. Xiao Qin was surprised, not understanding. Yes, cultivators can fly on a sword, but your level is too low. You are far from being able to fly a sword. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said. But you can still drive objects as long as they are small things that you can control. Of course, the lighter they are, the easier it is to control, and the heavier they are, the harder it is to control and the shorter the duration. Is that so? Then this ability doesn't seem to be very useful? At least, Xiao Qin couldn't think of any use for this ability. It's not very useful in the first place. It's just to prepare for flying a sword in the future. What other abilities do you want? The refinement stage is the weakest existence among cultivators. It's good enough that you can use those abilities to the fullest. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said indifferently. Obviously, he didn't think much of the abilities of the refinement stage. In the future, when your level is higher, you will be able to make talismans and set up formations. That will be awesome. Making talismans and setting up formations, Xiao Chen had seen it in some novels and TV shows. It was quite awesome, but it seemed like other people could do it at the refinement stage? But these things couldn't be compared. One was reality and the other was fiction. Then how do I operate it? Asked Xiao Chen. It's very simple. You just need to use your mind to control it. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said, you can try it now. Xiao Chen nodded. He sat on the bed and began to stare at the phone on the desk. He wanted to take it, but the phone didn't move after a long time. Why doesn't it work? It's too far, said the Elder Heaven Ancestor. Xiao Chen was speechless. He chose a drink that was closer. A bottle of drink on the bedside table slowly rose and flew toward Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen caught it in his hand. Although he wasn't very familiar with it, Xiao Chen was still a little surprised. This way he could save his hands. In the future, when he took off Goddess Shin's clothes, would he not need his hands? This ability didn't seem to be very useful, but Xiao Chen felt that it was fun. So he began to go back and forth to pick up the items nearby. He found that it was very convenient. The next time he cooked, he could directly pick up the seasoning, put it away and then put it back. After a while of experimenting, Xiao Chen also became more and more familiar with it. The speed of operation was also getting faster. Xiao Chen also found that if it was a very light item, he could pick it up very quickly in an instant. But if it was a heavier item, he couldn't do it. The most important thing was that this thing really consumed primordial qi. Xiao Chen had just broken through and was full of primordial qi. As a result, after such a period of experimenting, he was exhausted and consumed more than half of his primordial qi. After resting for a while, Xiao Chen was ready to go to the yard and try to activate the 7th style of Dark Flame Palm. Previously, he only managed to activate the 6th style of Dark Flame Palm, but he didn't try the 7th style. After all, at that time he was already barely able to activate the 6th style, so he definitely couldn't activate the 7th style. But now it was different. Xiao Chen was already a cultivator at the 6th level of Qi refinement stage, which was equivalent to a martial artist at the 7th level of inner force. This strength was enough to show disdain for many masters of aristocratic families in Songning City. At this time the weather was already late autumn, and it was still very cold in the yard at night. However, Xiao Chen's heart was fanatical. The higher his strength was, the greater the possibility of setting foot in the Shin family in the future. He must work hard. For Tang Tang, for Xinjing Shin, he must reach the 10th level of Qi refinement stage as soon as possible. Yes, this was the initial goal that he set for himself. Only when he reached the 10th level of Qi refinement stage could he have the ability to show disdain for the Songning family. Because he knew that in Songning City, there were martial artists at the 10th level of inner force. Feeling that his state was almost the same, Xiao Chen began to run the mantra and began to activate the 7th style of Dark Flame Palm. However, Xiao Chen clearly felt that the energy of Dark Flame Palm had been activated in his body, but the moment it was activated, it failed. Can it work? Xiao Chen was a little disappointed. After all, when he activated the 6th style of Dark Flame Palm, Xiao Chen's strength was at the peak of the 5th level of Qi refinement stage. But now he was only at the beginning of the 6th level of Qi refinement stage, so it was normal that he couldn't activate it. Shaking his head helplessly, Xiao Chen began to activate the 1st style of Dark Flame Palm. The 1st style, the 2nd style, the 3rd style, the 4th style, the 5th style, the 6th style. Previously, it was a little difficult for Xiao Chen to activate the 6th style, but this time it was very easy. The whole process was very smooth. What Xiao Chen was thinking was to see if he could activate it from the 1st form, and then gradually strengthen it until he could activate the 7th form. But to Xiao Chen's disappointment, he still failed. The situation was almost the same as before, not much better. It seemed that he had just broken through the 6th level of Qi refinement stage, so he still couldn't activate the 7th style of Dark Flame Palm. However, Xiao Chen wasn't discouraged. He estimated that he should be able to activate it since he had consolidated his strength at the 6th level. At this moment, the sky was already bright. It was a new day, but Xiao Chen's heart was a little heavy. He didn't know how Goddess Shen was. In fact, on Xin Jingshuan's side, Xin Jingshuan's mother and Xin Jingshuan's brother had already rushed to Songning City overnight. At this moment, they were in the Shin family's villa. Xin Jingshuan's mood was a little heavy. He blamed himself a little. His sister had arranged a marriage with the Chen family for him. Of course, this was the fate of the children of aristocratic families. Although he felt that it wasn't good, he didn't stop it. He hoped that his sister could be happy in the future. After all, even if she didn't marry into the Chen family, she would still marry into other aristocratic families. The result would be the same. However, it was different now. After Qin Jinping raped Qin Jingshan, he was actually killed. Now, Qin Jingshuan's situation was very awkward. If Qin Jinping hadn't done that, then Qin Jingshan still had a lot of options. But for now, the Xie family was the best choice. Qin Jingshuan's mother went to comfort Qin Jingshan in the morning. She told her that although Qin Jinping was dead, the Xie family was not bad. Since Xie Chen was sincere, he would treat her well in the future. In fact, Qin Jingshan didn't care about these things. What Qin Jingshuan's mother didn't know was that she cared about Xiao Chen's thoughts and views. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.